of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I know we do have some students in the audience, so we'll just make it a point, at some point in the meeting, we'll stop and take a break and sign all your slips, okay? We'll call you up at that point. All right, can I start with a motion to approve the minutes of August 14th as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And we'll hold off on the September 12th. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, November 13th. And, all right, for the purpose of the public and understanding how we run our meetings, we start with decisions. Those are public hearings that are already closed that we're just here tonight to make a decision on. Then we'll conduct the public hearings. So those are probably notices that you might have gotten in the mail that invited you to come and hear about a specific appeal or request that's before this board. The last thing that we'll do are reviews. When an appeal is ready for a public hearing, that means that this board has already reviewed it for at least 1 or 2 meetings. And so the reviews will be the last thing that we get to. Those are things that are fairly new to us. In most cases, they are brand new to us. We haven't seen them ourselves. So we tend to put those last on the agenda just so that we can get through the things that bring the public out first. So with that being said, let's start with item number 1, which is a decision, Appeal 3575, Wireless Edge. Now, I do have a couple members that are recused on this.
Correct.
So we're going to ask you guys to step away from the table. I'm going to ask our alternate, Jennifer, to come up. Oh, she's over there, okay. All right, so it's Appeal 3575 Wireless Edge Towers LLC. Wireless Edge Towers LLC is requesting a special permit to locate a wireless telecommunications facility consisting of a 110-foot tall monopole and associated equipment on a property located at 722 Route 376, Hopewell Junction, New York, known as the Dogwood Knolls Golf Course. Property is in the ownership of Biordi, pursuant to Section 194-80 of the zoning ordinance. Now, we've already had multiple nights of public hearings on this. We reviewed a substantial amount of information, so I believe we are ready to make our decision. Would somebody like to offer a resolution?
I'm going to read the decision as a record, and how we're going to do it. I move that the board accept the decision as set forth as follows. Whereas Wireless Edge is the lessee of real property located at the Dogwood Knolls Golf Course and owned by Hopewell Enterprises LLC, which is identified as tax map parcel number 6458-03-140290. And whereas Wireless Edge has made application to the Town of East Fishkill Zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit in order to use a portion of said property for a wireless telecommunications facility in accordance with the plans and specifications prepared by Tectonic Engineering and Surveying Consultants, P.C., last revised August 30th, 2011.
2012.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's a typo.
Thought that was a little old. And whereas the applicant has further shown that said property remains in compliance with any previously approved site plan, and whereas the plans propose to construct a wireless telecommunications facility consisting of a new 110 feet tall self-supporting cell tower within an approximately 80-foot long by 80 feet wide fenced equipment area, includes a 12 feet long by 30 feet wide equipment shelter therein. And whereas the property on which the telecommunications facility is proposed is located in an R1 residential zoning district, and whereas the zoning code of the Town of East Fishkill does not allow for wireless telecommunications facilities in an R1 zoning district except with a special permit, and whereas a public hearing was held on the application at the Town of East Fishkill Town Hall, 330 Route 376, Hopewell Junction, New York, on June 12th, July 10th, and August 14th, and September 12th of the year 2012, with a site walk and balloon test conducted on
March 5th, 2012.
March 5th, 2012, to consider the application. And whereas the Town of East Fishkill Zoning Board of Appeals has declared themselves the lead agent for the purpose of conducting the required SEQA review, and whereas the Town of East Fishkill Zoning Board of Appeals formally designated itself lead agency on April 10th, 2012, and whereas pursuant to Section 617 of the implementing regulations pertaining to Article 8, SEQA, and the Town of East Fishkill Zoning Board of Appeals has determined that the proposed property acquisition constitutes a Type 1 action, as such is defined in 6 New York Code Rules and Regulations, Parts 617.2, paren AI, close paren, 617.2, paren B, close paren 4, close paren, and 617.4, paren B, close paren 4, close paren, and whereas in accordance with requirements of SEQA, parts 1 and 2 of a full environmental assessment form have been prepared by DMS Consulting Services, Inc. to describe the potential environmental impacts associated with proposed action. And whereas, based upon a careful review of the action as a whole, of the full EAF, and of the criteria set forth in 6 New York Code Rules and Regulations, Part 617.7C, and after considering all the public input that the Zoning Board of Appeals has received, the Town of East Fishkill Zoning Board of Appeals, as lead agent, has determined that the action will not have a significant adverse effect on the environment, and whereas the application has been reviewed by the standards afforded a public utility, which considers whether the proposed location is necessary to render safe and adequate service, and whether there are compelling reasons, economic or otherwise, which makes other alternatives less feasible to implement. And whereas the Town of East Fishkill Zoning Board of Appeals has given careful consideration to the facts presented in the application and at a public hearing, and finds that, 1, the applicant has demonstrated that a deficiency in cellular coverage exists in the area, and that the coverage sought cannot be achieved by any other feasible means, because the site provides the best coverage as proven through documentation presented to the board. And 2, an alternative location has not been identified which would provide the necessary coverage while minimizing aesthetic or environmental areas of concern which have been identified. And 3, the granting of the present application will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood, because once built, only minimal traffic to the site will be occurring, as it is an unmanned facility, because the cell tower itself is located within the confines of the golf course, is surrounded by vegetation in a wooded area, and would be constructed in such manner as to resemble a monopine. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town of East Fishkill Zoning Board of Appeals, as lead agent, hereby determines that the proposed action will not have a significant adverse environmental impact in the following areas. There will be no substantial change in existing air quality, ground or surface water quality or quantity, traffic or noise levels. 2, there will be no substantial increase in potential for erosion, flooding, leaching, or drainage problems. 3, there will be no removal or destruction of large quantities of vegetation or fauna. 4, there will be no substantial impact in traffic or on the use of existing infrastructure. 5, there will be no significant impairment of the character or quality of architectural or aesthetic resources or of the existing neighborhood character, and be it further resolved that a draft environmental impact statement will not be prepared, and it be further resolved that the Town of East Fishkill Zoning Board of Appeals, as lead agent, hereby accepts and adopts the negative declaration prepared in connection with the proposed property acquisition, a copy of which is annexed hereto and made a part hereof, and it be it further resolved that the Town of East Fishkill Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants the application of Wireless Edge for a special permit as requested in accordance with requirements as set forth in sections 194-76 and 194-78A of the Town of East Fishkill zoning law for the placement of a wireless telecommunications facility on the grounds of the Dogwood Knolls Golf Course property with related equipment at the base as set forth herein and in the application and supportive documentation submitted by the applicant. And be it further resolved that in accordance with Section 194-83 of the Town of East Fishkill zoning code, the special permit granted herein shall be subject to the following special conditions. 1. The cell tower shall be constructed in such manner as to resemble a monopine. And 2. Pursuant to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy and the commencement of transmission, the applicant shall conduct pre-transmissions testing so as to provide adequate proof that the EMF radiation around the proposed site complies with FCC regulations. And 3, after transmissions begin, the applicant shall conduct post-commencement testing at the time of any change or alteration of the operating characteristics of the tower, and/or every 3 years if there's no change or alteration in the operating characteristics of the tower. And 4, the application shall annually file a written certification that the operating characteristics of the tower or installation have not changed. And 5, the applicant shall cause the tower to be inspected for structural integrity and safety by an independent licensed professional structural engineer at least every 3 years, or at any time of any modification of an existing tower. And 6, the applicant shall provide an agreement in which it agrees to maintain the area of the wireless telecommunications facility in good condition and order, and keep the tower and accessory structures in good order and repair, and in compliance with this approval. And 7, the applicant shall be required to promptly remove the tower within 12 months of cessation of operation. Based again on the foregoing, I ask that said resolution be approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second? Any discussion? Votes as follows. Jim?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
Jennifer?
Aye.
And myself, aye, so your motion carries. Okay? Thank you. All right, with a full complement of the board back, let's move on to item number 2. Again, a decision, Appeal 3590 Rojas. Henry Rojas, 9 Coopers Lane, Hopewell Junction, is requesting a variance to allow a proposed 672-square-foot detached garage to be located in front of the dwelling pursuant to Section 194-107 of the zoning ordinance. Now, this board hasn't had time for discussion on this in our decision, but there is a draft decision here just based on some of the discussion that has occurred at the last meeting, which was the public hearing. So we can either have discussion or read the resolution and then have discussion at that point.
I'd rather just read the resolution and have a discussion later on.
Okay? Go ahead.
Okay. Appeal number 3510, applicant Henry Rojas. Name of the project, variance to allow a proposed 672-square-foot detached garage in front of the dwelling pursuant to Section 194-107 of the zoning ordinance. 9 Coopers Lane, Hopewell Junction. Resolution offered by zoning board member Aziz Ahsan, whereas the applicant has applied to the zoning board to allow a 672-square-foot detached garage to be located in front of the dwelling pursuant to Section 194-107 of the zoning ordinance. Whereas this action is a type 2 action under seeker and no further action is required, and whereas the legal notice was published in the Southern Dutchess News, the official newspaper of the town, on September 5th, 2012, and whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals has held a public hearing on September 12th, and whereas this is an application by Henry Rojas, 9 Coopers Lane, to allow a proposed 672-square-foot detached garage to be located in front of the dwelling pursuant to Section 194-107 of the Town of East Fishkill zoning ordinance. Having considered all the foregoing and the well-known factors under the New York State Town Law Section 267B for reviewing and granting area variances, this board feels compelled to deny the variance sought herein for the following reasons, among others. First, the granting of the variance will produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood in that the proposed garage will be placed on on the lot with no landscape screening, and the lot is a corner lot highly visible from both Palin Road and Cooper's Lane. 2, the applicant's placement of the structure on his property can be achieved by some other means other than granting the area variance, as the applicant owns a double lot with area behind his home and has area at the top of his driveway. Number 3, the granting of the area variance would produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood and be detrimental to the nearby properties. Number 4, the hardship for the applicants herein seeking the area variance is self-created in that the applicant moved into this new construction home knowing the limitations of the lot caused by the placement of the house. The existing house already has a 3-car garage. Therefore, as a result of the foregoing, the applicant's application for the requested area variance is hereby denied.
Is there a second? And then we can go to discussion.
Second.
Discussion. Anything else we'd like to add to this? If not, votes as follows. Jim?
Aye.
Aziz?
Aye.
Tara?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
And myself, aye. All right. Okay, we're up to the public hearing, so item number 3, Appeal 3593 Pachoros, George Pachoros, 35 Hawks Lane, Hopewell Junction, is requesting a 28-foot sideline variance for a proposed 28 by 32-foot garage pursuant to Section 194-107 of the zoning ordinance. Oh, there you are. Hi. All right, do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. All right, just to recap for the purpose of your neighbors here, Mr. Pachoros on Hawks Lane has a house that's probably been there about 10 years at this point. He is requesting to put a 2-bay garage because he needs additional storage. I did conduct a site visit, so I was able to meet Mr. Pachoros there at his house. We had multiple discussions with him, multiple reviews, in that we were trying to see if you could not move the home closer to your house. But unfortunately, we couldn't do that because the second floor, right above your existing garages, you actually have a whole corner of windows there. So moving it any closer to your house, number one, would be impacting the view, and the actually how you would attach it would be impacted because of the windows for the room that's right there. But also because of this extensive ditch, really, for lack of a better word, that's on the right side of your property, that's an easement belonging to your neighbor. You wouldn't, if we actually moved it closer, you wouldn't have the ability to get any equipment like a lawnmower or a tractor or anything like that into your rear yard except around the other side of your home.
Yes.
So it actually would be a detriment, significant detriment to you in that it would prohibit your ability to maintain and get back and forth, from that side of your property. So we did explore it. We talked about the fact that some trees would be coming down and the impact on your neighbor. You actually did bring us a letter from your neighbor.
2 neighbors, yeah.
Yeah, letters from 2 neighbors that supported your appeal. So based on that, unless if there's any questions from board members?
I think just for the record, why, we should put down why I can't move it back.
Oh, yeah, we did talk actually about you being able to put it back, but again, because you had significant rock on
Yes.
your site, like big boulders that were back there that prohibit his ability to be able to move it much more further back on the site. Plus you had your septic was in your rear yard as well?
No, the septic was in the front.
Septic is in the front,
Yeah.
okay, so
Okay, but the problem is you can't, without perhaps blasting and moving a rock, you can't move it back as well.
plus there's slope. There's his
Yeah,
slope goes up, so his ability to push it back is impacted by the slope of the
Yeah, I just
ground.
wanted that on the record as part of the hardship. to
Yep,
him.
no problem. Any other questions from board members? Is there anyone here to speak for or against the appeal from Mr. Pachoros, 35 Hawks Lane, Hopewell Junction, requesting a 28-foot sideline variance for a proposed 28 by 32-foot garage? Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And
Okay, this is an appeal number 3593, applicant George Pachoros. Name of the project, requesting a 28-foot sideline variance for the proposed 28 by 32 garage. Resolution offered by zoning board member Aziz Hassan, whereas the applicant has applied for the zoning board a 28-foot sideline variance for a proposed 28 by 32 feet garage, whereas this action is a type 2 action under seeker and no further action is required, and whereas the legal notice was published in the Southern Dutchess News, the official newspaper of the town, on October 3rd, 2012, and whereas the zoning board of appeals held a public hearing held on October 9, 2012, and whereas the zoning board of appeals finds that the granting of the variance will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or be a detriment to the community, as the proposed garage is screened from the road and the neighbors. The desired results cannot be achieved by some other means by the applicant, has an easement which has a significant grade, and if moved the proposed garage any closer to his house, he would block the natural light from the windows into his living room. The variance requested is not substantial. The proposed area variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. The difficulty in adhering to the area requirements of the law was not created by something the applicant did or proposes to do, as this is a long, narrow lot with an easement along the side. Now therefore, be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals hereby approves the request made by John Kurz, 35 Hawks Lane, Hopewell Junction, who is requesting a 28-foot sideline variance for the proposed 28 feet by 32 feet garage pursuant to section 194-107 of the zoning ordinance.
Is there a second?
Second.
Vote, any discussion?
No.
Votes as follows. Jim?
Aye.
Aziz?
Aye.
Tara?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Your motion carries. Okay,
That's it.
that's it.
Thank you very
Go
much.
to the building department. All right, item number 4, Appeal 3594 Bacolo. Orazio Bacolo, 175 Creamery Road, Hopewell Junction, is requesting a 13-foot sideline variance for an existing 8-foot by 12-foot shed pursuant to Section 194-107 of the zoning ordinance. All right, again, just to summarize for the purpose of your neighbors, you've had a shed on that site, in that location for a number of years. Your neighbor right next door has a shed equally distant on his property in practically the same location, just on the other side of this band of pine trees that you have there. We did, have extensive discussion with Mr. Bacolo about other areas that he could move the shed that would require, extensive moving it from where it is. One of the biggest issues he has is that there is a power
Right,
stake
it's a
coming out of
secondary outlet.
Right, for lack of a better word here, the post coming out of the ground that provides power for related to his pool. And so because of the location of this pool, his septic and other issues in his yard, it does make it difficult for him to move it. And in doing a site visit along the entire stretch of Creamery Road, sheds in this location are extremely consistent. I noticed at least 7 sheds in this essentially location at the top of a driveway, although yours is a little bit further back from the driveway, along Creamery Road. So it is definitely not a detriment to the neighborhood. It is something that is consistent with that neighborhood. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I guess there was a Mr. Christopher Williams who sent a letter to the zoning board
Okay.
in favor of the shed, so
We have a copy of the letter?
I have a copy if you need it.
If you don't mind,
Well,
let me read it into the record, just in case we don't have it. Because normally we get copies of them. Okay? We do have it? All right, I'll just read this one and then give it back. To the September 22nd, 2012, attention Town of East Fishkill Zoning Board of Appeals. I'm in receipt of your Zoning Board of Appeals notice concerning Mr. Bacolo's sideline variance for a little shed. I am in full support of this variance request in bold and underline. The property at 175 Creamery Road is impeccably maintained and landscaped. I absolutely agree with that. The shed is maintained as well as your property, and the location simply makes sense. The shed in question is not an eyesore and does not appear to be intrusive upon his neighbors. I will not be attending the public hearing, so I would ask this letter of support be considered in Mr. Bacolo's favor. Please understand that I have never met in June do not know the Bucolo family. As such, there is no bias associated with this letter of support. I honestly cannot see how or why this variance can be justifiably denied by the zoning board. Sincerely, Christopher Williams. All right, so here, I'll give you your copy back, because we do have our copy for the record.
Now we don't.
Yes,
Okay, I make a motion to open the public hearing.
thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, any further questions from board members? No?
I think we have it on the record.
Is there anyone here to speak for or against the appeal from Mr. Bucolo, 175 Creamery Road, requesting a 13-foot sideline variance for an existing 8-foot by 12-foot shed?
I'm his neighbor, and
Can we ask you to come up to the microphone?
Yeah, I'm his neighbor. It's Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Kosner,
Okay,
and we approve of his shed. We love where it's at. It's, hidden back by the
Right.
trees, like ours, and we're very much in favor of it.
okay, good, thank you very much.
Okay.
Can we just ask you to sign in the clipboard so we get your name printed in the minutes correctly? Thank you very much. Anybody else? Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, you're moving me along, thank you. Resolution.
Appeal number 3594, applicant Mr. Bucolo is requesting a 13-foot sideline variance for an existing 8 feet by 12 feet shed at 175 Creamy Road, Hopewell Junction. Resolution offered by zoning board member Aziz Hassan, whereas the applicant has applied to the zoning board for a 13-foot sideline variance for an existing 8 feet by 12 feet shed pursuant to section 194-107, whereas this action is a type 2 action under seeker and no further action is required, and whereas the legal notice was published in the Southern Duchess News, the official newspaper of the town, on October 3rd, 2012, and whereas the zoning board of appeals held a public hearing on October 9th, 2012, and whereas the zoning board of appeals finds that the granting of this variance will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or be a detriment to the community, as there are many sheds in the same location at other properties on the road, and this shed is screened from the road now. The desired result cannot be achieved by some other means, as the applicant has an electric connection for his swimming pool adjacent to the shed. The variance amount is not substantial. The proposed area variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood. The difficulty in adhering to the area requirement of the law was not created by something the applicant did or proposes to do. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals hereby approves the request made by Orzero Bucolo, 175 Creamery Road, Hopewell Junction, for a 13-foot sideline variance for an existing 8 feet by 12 feet shed pursuant to section 194-107 of the zoning ordinance.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the only change I'm going to suggest we make is, you can see this from the road.
Right.
So it's not, we can't say it's screened from the road, it's screened from the neighbor. All right, there's significant trees right there that screened it from the neighbor, so let's just change that word to neighbor,
Okay.
okay? Any other comments or changes to the resolution? If not, votes as follows. Jim?
I need a second.
Tara, second.
Oh, gee, okay.
Jim?
Okay, second. Aye.
Aziz?
Aye.
Tara?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
And myself, aye. So your motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Item number 5, Appeal 3597 Parks. Deborah Annell Parks, 40 Warren Farm Road, Hopewell Junction, is requesting a 2-foot variance for a 6-foot fence which is located to the front of the rear line of the property pursuant to section 194-98 of the zoning ordinance. Good
Hi.
evening. Do I have a motion?
It's Emil, that Austrian family name.
Anil?
A.M.
Oh, okay.
I said the last time. My mom
Yeah,
has
it's spelled wrong on
Mom
here.
has an attachment to it.
Okay, no problem.
A-M-E-L.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's on here, it's written with an N. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, again, we have reviewed this application. You have a very strangely shaped lot in that your house is a little bit more kind of like diagonal as to the front, to your street, as opposed to being, because you used to actually have didn't you have a street or somehow you had
Yeah,
access going off to the side
My
previously?
front porch, yeah.
Yeah,
Front was
so-
now it's changed because of the development, but yeah.
Right.
The historical geography of my house is my front porch is other people's backyard.
Right. And so because of that, your house is set back quite significantly. So what really would be when we first looked at this, we were convinced that this fence was really in your side yard, but ultimately, when we drew the front line of the house, it ended up that the fence was in the front line. It is green, it is, it's,
I guess the correct way to say it is technically now,
right,
it's on the side line of the property, but
Right.
forward of the
Of the
rear
house.
line. So it's not, in that sense, it's really not
and there are some
the
conditions
front of
that,
the rear line. It's worded correct in the resolution. So
Yeah.
that's not a problem. But that caused some confusion.
but you do also have some significant environmental elements on your property that would make it scary if a child wandered onto your property and
It
went
would.
toward the back of your property there.
It would.
So we do recognize that you are, trying to protect the back of your property, and again, because of the nature of your property and how long you've been there and the house, we know you're trying to preserve some privacy here, so. Is there anything else you'd like to offer?
Yeah, I think in all those pictures I gave you, I have
Right.
extras if you want them. But I really am set back, the fence not under 2 feet, but well over 4 feet. And I took pictures of the measuring process. And also, I recognize the impact of zoning on my 200-year-old house. So I also said the last time, with the help of my husband's brother-in-law, who's trying to save the outside of the house at present, we would finish the side of the other side of the fence, so there would be 2 good
Two
sides.
finished sides, good.
So the issue is the height, and as I say, every time I walk out my front porch, my front yard, there's a really clear vision, and the big draw of my property when I bought it was the Wikipedia Creek, and when I sold the lot to my neighbors and his brother, they liked the creek view also. So I would like to put a rustic sitting area there for me, as I said the last time, for my Golden Pond years, to be able to sit out there and relax, and also for the privacy every time I'm in my front yard or every time there's somebody coming. There is a direct line of vision, actually a direct line vision all the way down, and the 6-foot fence gives me the privacy not only on the front yard, front porch, but also my dining room, my office area, and all of that, that I think I put into the packet.
Right. Okay. Any questions from board members?
Are you amending your application? Because I think you mentioned additional material that was not in the original,
The additional material is to put a second finished side up if there's a problem flipping.
But that doesn't require.
yeah, well, no, that's fine, that's fine.
that's
No,
what it
because you
has
were
to
talking
have. It has
about,
to have a finished side to the outside,
Right.
so she's
she-
complying
correct,
with the rules.
as long as you're complying,
Yeah.
that's fine.
And I think you said your pictures also show you're at least 4 feet
Right.
from the property.
53 to 54 feet, yeah.
Correct.
Taller than me, most.
She was just explaining that.
Okay.
Any other questions from board members? If not, is there anyone here to speak for or against the appeal from Ms. Parks, 40 Warren Farm Road, requesting a 2-foot variance for a 6-foot fence, which is located to the front of the rear line of the property?
Yeah.
Can we ask you to come up?
Can we work together?
Yeah, sure. We're not scary, don't worry. Well, are you related, or are you,
You were married.
okay.
That's
You can come up
as
with one.
ready as you want to be.
I got one quick question with what you said. Now, are you calling the fence line the front of the house? Now, this the front of the house?
What it is normally fences, particularly if they want to, if somebody wants to go above 4 feet, must be behind the rear line of the house.
Yes. that
And
I
what
know.
she's asking for is to put that fence in front of the rear line of the house. Because again, even though from the property, it looks like it's in line with the rear line, the way her house is angled on the property, it actually does fall, if you draw the line diagonally, it does fall within the front yard, or within the front line
part of the house.
front of the house, thank you.
And there was some confusion because what was the front of her house, the front line is now the side line.
Right.
The road moved.
Okay, so
Over
we're
the
still
years.
keeping that as the sideline.
But now it's now the sideline, even though her house faces that.
Faces the sideline.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're clear on that. All right. The thing is, we just really don't want to see the fence because we don't have any fences in our neighborhood. That's
Okay.
number one. Number two is if you have a 6-foot fence, you have to have a 2-foot setback. Am I correct?
Right?
It doesn't have a 2-foot setback.
She
It's on the
has 4
property
feet.
line.
She
She's
has
saying
4
4 feet setback.
53 to 57 inches,
How much?
between 53 inches to 57 inches.
And how do you verify that?
She took
There's
pictures
this-
and showed her property line. and
There's
back.
pictures in the file, there's a survey that she's given us.
So,
So-
well, the fence was installed after the survey, so if we go by the stakes, and we take the stakes and we draw a line, if it's inside the 2-foot, it's illegal, right?
Yeah, it has to be at least 2 feet back.
But if it's inside the 2-foot, it's illegal, right, of the stakes?
We should not
Okay,
be
so
approaching
we're good.
Then she wouldn't be able to get a C of O from the building department for it.
Okay, all right. Now, when you put up a fence, the good side's supposed to face your neighbor, right?
Correct.
So that fence would have to be turned?
She
Or
said
she's-
she's gonna put a second good side on it.
On the, no, I didn't hear that part, okay. And, so this is still up to a point of a variance of approval, okay? Whether it gets approved or not by the board?
Yeah, we hope to make a decision tonight.
No, good enough, all right, thank you.
Are you
Thank
concerned, are you otherwise objecting to it if all those?
Oh, very
conditions are
much
met?
so, yeah, because, like I say, it's the only 6-foot fence in our whole neighborhood.
And your objection is just because it's a fence, or it's?
No,
otherwise
there's no
there's-
problem with the 4-foot fence, but you're going for the variance. I have no problem with the 4-foot fence with, what the town stipulates as the code, building code, as a 4-foot fence. Now you have to go for a variance of 2. Now, if you wanted my opinion on whether we want it, I'll say no,
Okay.
because it's unsightly.
You think it's on site, even though it's set back from the road, still 50 feet or more back from the road?
It doesn't matter, it's in your backyard, and like when you say, when you live in a neighborhood that doesn't have a fence in 130 homes, yeah, it doesn't look good.
And there really is, I
That's what
mean,
I'm
when
asking.
when you talk about what the backyards look like, it is the beauty of the fact that you have the trees, and it's uninterrupted, and you have the creek down below, and then you have this 6-foot fence that comes up in the back, which is not something that we've ever looked out at before.
Okay, where is your home in relation to this home?
Okay, if you were to be, can we do it
Do
north
you
and
wanna come
south?
up and, here's a map here, an aerial?
Yep.
You
Can
wanna
I
come
draw
up
on it?
and
I mean,
just-
just point on it?
Right, come
Yep,
show
no
us
problem.
which one you are.
Yeah, kind of hard to see left or right.
This is her home, the big lot.
Well, there's Warren Farm Road, oh, sorry. Oh, right here. So this would be.
So you're her immediate neighbor,
That's correct.
okay?
That would be the fence.
So you see it from your house or from the road or both?
Up on the back of the house.
You
And
see it from the back of your house?
Yes, you look straight out. Probably from the back of our deck, I'd say the beginning of the fence is probably about.
So your house is up, all the way up here, right?
It's got it's 100-foot setback, my house,
Okay.
okay? So it looks.
Her property is over 5 acres.
Yeah, but her house
So,
is pulled totally down to the right.
Hers is
My
right
house
here.
is pulled to the left, that's correct.
And the creek and the fence are?
No, the creek is to the downside.
Creek is set back here.
all the way
It's
back
down
here with
below.
a very steep drop. So what I drew is basically what the fence line is.
which is
Yeah, but she's entitled to a 6-foot fence in the back.
in the back of her yard,
In the back
right?
already. It's just the rear side. It can't be ahead of the side of our house. I mean, at a side, she can have 4 feet, but she's requesting the 6-foot up there.
See, this is the survey that she gave us.
Oh, I'm sorry, good morning, please.
No, this is the survey that she, just showing you, this is the survey that she gave us.
my glasses.
Okay, so this is where her driveway is now, but this
Yep.
is where her driveway used to be. So if you look at where, the orientation of her house.
Yeah, they used to come up the backside up, oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, no problem. Just making sure that you understand what she's asking for.
Yeah, no, I got it. Okay, so that was the old road that went in before this whole subdivision was even.
Correct.
So that's why the house faces basically west, that being north.
Okay,
Okay.
so
So now, you'd have the place was surveyed, the fence went in after the survey, and the stakes are still there, so all you have to do is to see if it's not set back 2 feet, is just measure.
Okay,
Pretty simple.
she's given
But
us
that's not the
pictures.
concern you're expressing. She won't get a permit for the fence if she doesn't meet the requirements. That's what I'm trying to get.
Oh, okay.
You're objecting, saying you can see it from the road, and you don't think it's good for the neighborhood? What exactly? Or the fact that you want to look through your backyard and look all the way to her house? I mean, I'm not sure what you're objecting.
No, I mean, when you look out before, you can almost, when you go out to the back door, not our back step, when you step out to the back, you can go out and see the waterfall. Right now, that's blocked, which comes down from the Morganthal Farm. And like I say, the biggest thing on this, I just like the 6-foot fence because, and the reason being, it's just unsightly.
And here are the photographs showing the 53 to 57-inch distance.
Okay, well, it's pretty easy to find mistakes, and I'll find them.
Okay. But again, we are seeing that an unfinished side is on your side, so she has acknowledged that that's going to be corrected.
They're actually going to put a second fence, if I remember correctly. So there'll be 2 fences, one facing her side and one facing your side, but they'll be like next to each other.
I understand the desire for privacy. I mean, that's the goal for most people, but there is so much, there's a huge allotment of trees back there that is between houses, and they just landscaped the other half of their yard, which will be all tall pines and trees when it's fully grown. There's no way that we have a visual to the side of their house or their front door, or especially their backyard, from our yard.
Yeah, there's
And if
significant
those trees are grown,
script
you're
here.
still going to be able to see the
No, the trees are not
waterfall?
near the fence. This is trees along the property line.
Yeah, but
That will
he said
clearly,
one of the complaints was he couldn't see the waterfall. These trees are grown, are you going to be able to see the waterfall?
no, what I'm saying is that if they're trying to build
She's standing
a
on
spot
her
where there's privacy, there is privacy, there always has been, because of the foliage and the trees that are back there naturally.
Yes. And your husband said that one of his complaints was that it blocked the view, he couldn't see the waterfall.
Right.
Once those trees are grown, are you going to be able to see the waterfall?
Those trees have been there all along where we could see the waterfall. I'm talking about the fact that that is a natural barrier anyway between our yards where we don't see.
Maybe you answered the question, I'm not sure. You say they landscaped it, they planted trees. Once those trees are fully grown, are you going to be able to see
Yes.
the waterfall?
Yes. Trees are not an issue. What I'm saying is that we don't have a clear view to their backyard where the fence is necessary. A 6-foot fence is necessary in that spot.
Okay.
Okay, again, I think as I had said earlier, she's entitled to a 6-foot fence in her rear yard in the backyard. It's only the side portion that we are trying to give her a variance on.
Right.
And so would that side variance create a, I mean, I do not remember, I can't figure out how long a distance it is, but it's only that portion that's from the side of her house back to her backyard. That's the portion that she's getting a variance for.
Can I just flip this for 1 second? Why do you have a 6-foot? Why do you not allow 6-foot fences on the side of the house?
Generally for the reasons that you're complaining about.
So that's what it's really all about. Not only is that, it comes down to, to your property value soon. You go into a house and you've got the only house in the whole neighborhood of 130 homes with a 6-foot fence on the side, it doesn't look very good.
Well,
And all we just say, all we just ask you to do is just enforce the rules that you guys set forward, and nothing more.
She's put forth good reasons as to why she wants it. Now we're hearing from you.
No,
So I'm
please.
trying to understand it. One of the things was we understood that you couldn't see it from the road.
Right.
You're telling us that you can see it from the road?
The fence?
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
So, the other thing is, aesthetic-wise, you don't think it's appropriate for the neighborhood.
Not for that
You can
neighborhood
see
at
the
all.
road
No.
and, okay, so we have to consider those things.
Yep. All right, anything else you'd like to offer?
No, we're good.
No, okay.
All right, thank you
We just
very
ask you
much.
to sign in, please.
Thank you.
These are fences in our neighborhood.
Okay,
I put it in the packet. This is a 6-foot fence. It
borders on the Wickapee Creek and on Warren Farm Road. This is another view of that fence. This is.
Where is this fence in relationship to your home?
Oh, down the street, right before the bridge on Warren Farm Road, along the Wickapee Creek. That's what inspired me with my fence, because I found it attractive. This is a plastic fence, which, no offense to anybody with a plastic fence, when I told my neighbor about this
You're
fence-
directing your comments to
Oh,
us.
sorry. I just wanted to know that, I know they're here, but he said, you're not going to put in one of those plastic fences, right? And I said, no, I'm not. I'm putting in wood because of my old house. This is a high fence. It's up all the way at the end of Warren Farm Road. And there are fences around my neighborhood because I drove and I took a look. And waterfall isn't blocked if they walk out to
Go on
the-
back, you can go back to the
Oh,
microphone.
sorry. Waterfall is not blocked if you walk out to that point. And the new trees they're talking about is because of a health condition that I have to mark off property lines for my estate. So I put in trees 10 feet back from our property line on theirs to avoid any conflict should I be deceased before my husband, Rich. The privacy is because I have a clear view down to their yard. Every time I come out my front porch, every time I'm in my living room, and a 4-foot wouldn't do it. And to their credit, they cleaned up the debris. Remember the pictures I showed you? Now there's building materials, gravel, the digging pit, cinder blocks and things like that. But it's more than what I was looking at. It's also that I can't go out there without a direct line of sight. And I would really like to be out there. It's why I bought my property. It's why I bought the lot that they live on now. It's why they bought the lot, because it is so pretty. And I went to 3 nurseries, Sabelico's, Willow Ridge, and Plant Depot, and asked them, what could I put back there naturally as fencing? Nothing would grow except a kind of bamboo that isn't indigenous to this area. And me and my other neighbor, Bob Morgenthau and Josh, we're trying to do what we can to preserve indigenous species, not introduce another loosestrife, to the area. So it does give me privacy. I can walk out on my front porch now, which is the way I come in and out. It's my front door, and not see anything. And I don't have to worry about somebody falling over a hill, which scares me.
You said we already had copies of these?
You do, but you can keep those. I made a couple copies. It's to show you that there are fences. I didn't drive it into the ground, but Rich and I, that's my husband, we did drive all around. And that's why I took some pictures, and especially that fence that you're looking at, the wood one, is what I have. It's very attractive to me. And the man who put it up, it's like this. It's on Warren Farm Road here, and then the other arm runs up by Wickapee Creek.
Okay. Thank you.
Is that clear?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just add something?
Sure.
During the summer, there's significant pool activity in the yard also. So
Your yard or the neighbor's yard?
the neighbor's yard.
Okay.
So to me, 4 feet wouldn't really shield us from that. I mean, it won't shield us from the noise, but it will,
Looks like that's where the
it'll,
pool is.
provide a barrier
Okay.
for us and for the sitting place that she wants to create. That's all I'm going to do.
Yeah, but again, I think you can achieve that privacy by putting up a hedge of, because you have enough acreage around, so you can put up a hedge or something like that, 4 to 6 feet high without a problem.
She's testified, the problem is she wants to keep children or whatever visiting her house from going over the edge. She's testified.
No, I think
don't-
she's trying to keep the neighbors, I'm not sure.
She said that, right? One of your concerns is children going over the edge of the,
Yeah.
so it has to be near that to stop it, and she's testified that she's gotten Sabelico's and other nurseries out there to say that vegetation won't grow there except
There has been
non-indigenous
incidences
plants.
where I've had to speak to people, and it's unfortunate, but I don't My sister was down. She went to special ed classes for a long time. There were kids in there with head injuries. So I'm sensitive to kids climbing and putting up tree swings on my property, because I have big trees. I'm an old house. I'm 200 years old. Or falling off that cliff. I was, before illness, a climber mountaineer, and I'm afraid to go down that hill because you could slip and then you hit, I think Mr. Mayor knows the drop-off to the stream, that it goes from hill to a rock-based drop-off. That's not safe.
Okay, but that is an argument that I'm not convinced about, because in Dutchess County, in town of East Fishkill, there are many locations which have got water or cliff or, hills or cliffs in the backyard, or deep slopes in the backyard or around the house, and nobody's constructing 6-foot
Well,
fences.
this is, I'm not disputing what you say. It's the liability in coming over onto my property. And mind you, from midway in the Wikipedia stream where I own to the road is about 500 feet. I'm just looking for 40 feet.
And you can barely see it from the road. I mean, you got to know it's there in order to see it.
Yeah, the fence that I modeled after is definitely visible, and it is the same height.
Oh, these are the other fences.
Okay, I see that you have got difficulty growing vegetation up there. And so there is some evidence in the record that shows that.
That's why,
vegetation-
thank you
okay,
for
you're right.
noticing, I appreciate that. I had a friend come up also, and, who's a landscape artist, and it's just very difficult to put up a natural barrier.
It's very shaded.
That's why I chose to put up the 10 feet back from my property line. Plant Depot did it. We measured from the stakes. We put up natural instead of a non-natural fencing to mark the line, but we couldn't do it back there.
She's trying to screen for the neighbors. They don't have any fence. This is the sharp drop-off.
Yeah, the sharp drop-off for me is there, and again, but again, the vegetation is not going to solve the problem, and I think that's what I'm
Right.
convinced.
Thank
Okay.
you.
I'm okay.
Okay. Can we just ask you to please sign in as well? Okay.
He hasn't got a strange name like me.
Can I just say one more? I know you have a lot.
You can, that's fine, come on up.
Just a couple of things that I wanted to say, because I wasn't aware that it was a problem. I have a 13-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 10-year-old. And when they were very little, we had put up a barrier in back, because we have the same drop-off in our yard. It goes straight across both yards. And we've taken it down, because they're now at the point where the danger is not really there anymore. They understand, they've lived with this drop-off. We've lived in the house we've been in the house for 22 years, and this is not new to us. There's nothing, my kids have no reason to walk over there and go down the hill on her side. If they're gonna fall, they're gonna fall on my side, because it's there too. The pool activity that we have, our pool is approximately 110 to 120 feet away from the fence, and it's also set 5 feet down. It's built in, we built down inside. So when you're up towards the fence, you basically really can't even see down into the pool. You can see the pool, but you can't see what's going on. And the noise level, I never have believed it to be an issue. We don't have huge parties, and it's just, I had no idea the pool was a problem. And I was quite shocked, because it is quite a distance from that fence, or their house for that matter.
Okay, thank you.
I see directly down to the pool, sound waves rise like heat waves. If I'm in my office, I can hear entire conversations. If they're an embarrassment to me, I shut the window. If I sit outside, I have a direct line of sight. I think I have a picture at home that shows that I can see right down to the pool. I definitely can hear, and that's something I can't rectify. But For me to have a 4-foot fence and landscape and sit on that area wouldn't be possible with 4. I do have a direct line up site. I can take more pictures if you like, but they're in there. And about the children, I've taken swings out of my trees several times and just brought them back over. There was a couple of incidences because down in the bottom, the old Henry Morgenthau land, there is a house with children, and leaning over the thing and crossing some temporary barriers. I'm not, these are nice kids. They're kids, you know, and hanging over and going across the railroad ties, which I constructed, happened. And they said, oh, I'm sorry. But it doesn't take much to fall. And somebody can't watch 24 hours. And if it's on my land, I'm going to watch. You know, that's what liability is about.
Yep, we
That's it.
understand.
Thank you.
All right. All right, anybody else? If not, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? And Jim?
Reference to appeal number 3597 by Deborah Parks, requesting a 2-foot variance for a 6-foot high fence located at 40 Warren Farm Road, Hopewell Junction, New York. And whereas this following resolution is offered by zoning board member James Meyer, and whereas the applicant has applied to the zoning board for a 2-foot variance on a 6-foot fence, which is located to the front of the rear line of the property pursuant to section 194-98 of the code. And whereas this is a type 2 action under SEQR and no further action is required. And whereas the legal notice was published in the Southern Dutchess News, the official newspaper of the town, on October 3rd, 2012. And whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals has held a public hearing this evening, October 9, 2012. And whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals finds that the granting of the variance will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or be a detriment to the community, as the fence is 40 feet in length, approximately 50 feet in from a property line.
50 inches. 50 inches. 50 inches.
50 inches.
50 inch, well, setback from the front road, 50 feet, correct?
Probably even longer than that.
That's what I
It's
thought
set
we
back about
talked about.
200 feet.
Setback, okay. Setback from her property line, 50 inches, but some
From
distance
Warren
of-
Farm Road.
Yeah, Warren Farm Road is 200 or more feet back from the road, with limited visibility from the road. And whereas the desired result cannot be achieved by some other means, as the applicant has a steep drop down to the Wickeby Creek, and her neighbors have small children for whom she's concerned about their safety, and the request is desired to screen her view of her neighbor's property and for her own personal privacy. The variance requested is not substantial. The proposed area variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood, again, because it has limited visibility from the road. The difficulty in adhering to the area requirements of the law was not created by something the applicant did or proposes to do. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby approves the request made by Deborah Emile Parks, 40 Warren Farm Road, Hopewell Junction, for a 2-foot variance for a 6-foot fence to be located to the front of the rear line of her property pursuant to section 194-98 of the zoning ordinance. Be it further resolved that within 5 business days of the adoption of this resolution, the chair or other duly authorized member of the zoning board shall cause a copy of the resolution to be filed with the town clerk and a copy sent to the applicant only.
Is there a second?
Second.
Votes as follows. Jim?
Aye.
Aziz?
Aye.
Tara?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
And myself, aye. So your motion carries. Okay? Pam, what's?
I go to building department?
Yes. Okay, you're all set. All right, item number 6, appeal, oh, I'm sorry, you know what, actually, let's take a break and sign the sheets for the students. Come on up, anybody at this table can sign it for you. And tell me what meeting you attended.
Why did everyone come tonight? Did your course just start off? Did you all came out tonight because the course just started?
Zoning board.
You gotta come back next week.
You want yours signed too? Oh, that's fine.
Why don't you, Jeffrey, give it when the official,
Well, I can read it. I'll read it into the record. No big deal.
okay, you want to make it?
I'll
part of
read it
the
into the record.
Okay.
All right, any other students? If not, let's get on with our business here. Item number 6, Appeal 3598 Savino. Jeffrey Savino, 3 Lisa Lane, Hopewell Junction, is requesting a 14-foot sideline and a 23-foot front line variance for a proposed 24-foot by 30-foot garage, as well as a variance to allow the garage in front of the rear line of the dwelling pursuant to Sections 194-107C of the zoning ordinance. Property is in the ownership of Amarada. All right, again, we've had a discussion about this one at our last meeting. The shape of this lot is extremely
Narrow.
strange and yeah, challenging, exactly, thank you, that's the best way to put it. In that most of the property on this lot is actually in the front of the house, and just with the way it's set back on a cul-de-sac, you really did not have any other options, you know, that we could determine based on our review. There is screening for the, from the cul-de-sac to where you're proposing to put the garage. So the impact on the neighborhood appeared to be mitigated as you know, as best we could. The building that you were proposing, was in keeping with the house that was there. So is there anything else you'd like to add?
I have one of the plans. Did you want to see the plans? I
Yes,
have them here.
please. Do that one second. I always do that when I remember when I look at Aziz. Okay.
I love pictures.
This would be brick to match the core of the house.
Okay. Everybody keeps knocking those signs.
Very simple.
Okay. All right, before I go any further, do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so we do have a plans and a photograph or a design plan if anybody wants to, any of the neighbors want to see this. Is this for our record here, or
You can have it if you'd like it.
Okay. All right, are there any questions from board members?
What were you gonna use the garage for? Is it cars?
I have show cars.
Show cars.
Okay, so that being said, actually, let's read into the record the letter from the neighbor. Dear Ms. Drummond, this is October 3rd, 2012. This letter is in response to your letter dated September 14th, 2012, regarding Appeal 3598. As neighbors bordering the property of 3 Lisa Lane, we are in approval of Jeffrey Savino's request for variances for a proposed 24-foot by 30-foot garage. We, the undersigned, ask you to grant Mr. Savino his request for a permit to build. Sincerely, it's signed by 3 neighbors, William McBride at 4 Fletcher Drive, Helen McBride, 4 Fletcher Drive, and Ellen Delacus, thank you, 2 Fletcher Drive. All right, we'll make this part of the record. Thank you. So is there anyone else here to speak for or against Mr. Savino's 3 Lisa Lane, Hopewell Junction, requesting a 14-foot sideline and 23-foot front line variance for a proposed garage? Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
This is an appeal number 3598. Applicant is Jeffrey Savino, requesting a 14-foot sideline variance and a 23-foot front line variance for a proposed 24 by 30 garage at 3 Lisa Lane, Hopewell Junction. Resolution offered by zoning board member Aziz Hassan, whereas the applicant has applied to the zoning board for a 14-foot sideline and a 23-foot front line variance for a proposed 24 by 30 garage, as well as a variance to allow the garage to be in front of the rear line of the dwelling whereas this action is a type 2 action under seeker and no further action is required, and whereas the legal notice was published in the Southern Digest News, the official newspaper of the town, on October 3rd, 2012, and whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals held a public hearing on October 9th, 2012, and whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals finds that the granting of the variance will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or be a detriment to the community, the desired results cannot be achieved by some other means as the lot is an odd shape, and because of that, garage cannot be placed on the lot without requiring a variance. The variance requested is not substantial. The proposed area variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. The difficulty in adhering to the area requirements of the law was not created by something the applicant did or proposes to do. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Zoning Board of Appeal hereby approves the request made by Jeffrey Savino, 3 Lisa Lane, Hopewell Junction, who is requesting a 14-foot sideline variance and a 23-feet front line variance for the proposed 24 feet by 30 feet garage, as well as a variance to allow the garage to be in the front of the rear line of the dwelling pursuant to section 194-107C of the zoning ordinance. Be it further resolved that within 5 business days of this adoption of this resolution, the chair or other duly authorized member of the zoning board shall cause a copy of the resolution to be filed with the town clerk and a copy sent to the applicant owner.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Votes as follows. Jim?
Aye.
Aziz?
Aye.
Tara?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Your motion carries. Okay? Building department, you're done for the, take those.
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning.
Have fun.
All right, item number 7 is actually withdrawn by the applicant, and just for the record of the board, notices were sent out, so we're not going to authorize a refund in this case.
Okay.
All right, item number 8, Appeal 3602, GNS Group Limited. GNS Group Limited, 97 North Clinton Street, Poughkeepsie, is requesting permission to install a lit sign over the back entrance to the Liberty Mutual Insurance Office located at Neshawat Square, 900 Route 376, Wappingers Falls, New York, pursuant to Section 153 of the zoning ordinance. Good evening.
Hello again.
Hi again. All right, so we've already seen, you were here once before requesting a larger sign on the front of the building.
Correct.
Because again, from when the building was originally put up and the zoning, the sign ordinance had changed.
Right.
And recognizing that this building was originally designed to have both front and rear access.
Correct.
Because most of the parking is actually in the rear of the building, it is pretty significant that it would be inappropriate for there to be a sign on the back of the building. The sign that you're requesting is in keeping with the signs that, the other signs that are on this building. We looked at pictures of that last time. So, you know, is there anything else you'd like to offer?
Just that I did post my sign.
I saw your sign, yes.
And I was told today that it wasn't there, and when I went to put it up.
Okay.
Oh, Pam told me today that someone reported that the sign was not posted, and I did do that. In fact, I sat there for 15 minutes because they were mowing the lawn when I went to put it up, so I waited.
You know, because I actually, it's definitely been there.
Oh, it's gone now.
I saw
I
it.
noticed tonight it's gone, but
Okay, well, I noticed in
did
the
put
last
it
couple
up.
days that it was definitely there. But I was going to remind you, though, because last time the sign was up there a month later, so I was going to remind you, make sure you take it down.
I did. I took
today.
it down last month when I left here.
Right, okay. All right, so any other questions from board members?
Motion to open the public hearing.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you. Is any other questions from board members? No? Is there anyone here to speak for or against GNS Group Limited requesting permission to install a lit sign over the back entrance of the Liberty Mutual Insurance Office in Neshawat Square? Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
This is an appeal number 3602. Applicant is GNS Group Limited, requesting a Liberty Mutual sign on the rear of Neshawat Square at 900 Route 376, Wappinger Falls. Resolution offered by zoning board member Aziz Hassan, whereas the applicant has applied to the zoning board to allow a lit sign over the back entrance of the Liberty Mutual Insurance Office located in Neshawat Square pursuant to section 153 of the zoning ordinance, whereas this action is a type 2 action under seeker and no further action is required, and whereas the legal notice was published in the Southern Duchess News, the official newspaper of the town, on October 3rd, 2012, and whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals held a public hearing on October 9th, 2012, and whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals finds that the granting of the variance will not produce an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or be a detriment to the community, the desired result cannot be achieved by some other means, as the plaza was approved with the bulk of the parking located at the rear of the building and with the understanding that signage would be permitted. The variance requested is not substantial. The proposed area variance will not have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood, or as the other tenants in the building have signage on the front and rear of the building. The difficulty in adhering to the area requirement of the law was not created by something that the applicant did or proposes to do, as the sign ordinance has been updated recently, and as part of the updated signs on the rear building are not permitted. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby approves the request made by GNS Group Limited for a lit sign over the back entrance of the Liberty Mutual Insurance Office at Nishwat Square, 900 Route 376, Wappinger Falls, pursuant to Section 153 of the zoning ordinance. Be it further resolved that within 5 business days of the adoption of this resolution, the chair or other duly authorized member of the zoning board shall cause a copy of the resolution to be filed with the town clerk and a copy sent to the applicant owner.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? No. Votes as follows. Jim?
Aye.
Aziz?
Aye.
Tara?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Your motion carries. You're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. All right. Item number 9, Appeal 2216 Jackson. Vern Jackson is requesting an extension of a soil mining permit for his property located on Jackson Road pursuant to Section 194-75 of the zoning ordinance. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, good to see you.
All right, when we met last, we did have a discussion with your son regarding, you have an ongoing mining operation on this site. You have an existing DEC permit that is actually good until August 21st, 2013. DEC issues their permits in a 5-year time span, where the town code only allows us to issue our permits in a 2-year time span. So there's going to, that's why you're now back to renew your permit to continue its operation up until the August 21st, 2013, at which time we'll have to revisit it because you'll have to get an extension from DEC. All right, is there anything else you'd like to offer? I understand there was a site visit done, by the way, by John Paraskiver from the town, who went and did an inspection and found found the site was in compliance and found no concerns on the site. Anything else you'd like to offer? No? Okay, any questions from board members? No. Is there anyone to speak for or against the renewal of the soil mining permit for the property of Vern Jackson on Jackson Road? Seeing none, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. And we don't have a written, okay.
Good. Right here.
Right here what?
Any information you're going to...
Reference to Appeal 2216 by Mr. Vern Jackson. Hopewell Junction, New York, requests an extension of his soil mining permit for his property located on Jackson Road pursuant to Section 194-75 of the zoning ordinance. And whereas the prior environmental impacts have been done and the applicant has an approved New York State permit to operate a soil mining operation on the property, and whereas the legal notice for this appeal was published in the Southern Duchess News, the official newspaper of the town.
Correct.
And whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals has held its public hearing this evening, October 9, 2012, and whereas the Zoning Board of Appeals finds that there is the existing
Extension of that.
Whereas this is a request to extend the special permit for land excavations and filling, provided that the application meets all the general conditions of Article 9 and further meets all the applicable conditions as set forth in this condition, in this section. And whereas a full and complete hearing was previously held on this matter for the initial granting of the special permit, and whereas there is existing said license or grant by the state of New York to have the soil excavation or mining continue on the applicant's property, and whereas a site inspection was done by a member of the town, and that the operation is proceeding in a manner consistent with the regulations guiding the operation.
We grant an extension to the existing
I want
permit?
to make sure I want to say anything else looking at this thing.
No problem.
And whereas the ZBA grants the extension to the applicant for the special permit subject to the findings and conditions as set forth in the original grant for the special permit with an expiration date of August 21st, 2013.
Good. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Well, actually, let's do votes as follows. Jim?
Aye.
Aziz?
Aye.
Tara?
Aye.
Barbara? And myself, aye. Your motion carries. All right, so you're good until August 21st, 2013. All right, at that point, you'll have to come back, but you'll have to get your DEC approval first. Okay?
I'll have to try to pre-plan that. Don't
Yeah.
come in-
I don't know how long that approval will take, so, all right? Thank you very much.
Have I got 1 minute to speak?
Okay.
Okay, my father was one of the original planning board designers with Mr. Hickman's grandfather and several other members of this town. And they worked on this back in '63. And, you know, they wanted to make the town better, and they wanted to keep the houses out of the barns, out of being in the roads. And so here we are today. I'm sure that, you know, we have to jump through too many hoops, and sometimes we've progressed too far, and we nitpick too much about little things that really don't mean much. Thank you.
Thank
I would
you.
just like to add, as one of our senior statesmen, Mr. Jackson, I'm glad that you were able to make it tonight. Thank you.
Yes.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item number 10, Appeal 3469, Broderson, Gary Broderson, 65 Ritter Road, was granted a special permit for an accessory professional use music studio to be located in his house on October 12, 2010. It is before the board for the required 2-year renewal of said special permit pursuant to section 194-90 of the zoning ordinance. Oh, okay, thank you.
No, you better hurry up.
I guess if he's not there.
Yeah, is Mr. Broderson coming in, or?
Yeah, I think we saw him, too.
Thank you, Jim.
Mr. Broderson here? No one's answering, so.
Second call.
Okay, second
Oh, this is
call.
a public hearing, though.
Still second call.
No, still we can do.
Still,
He's here?
Well,
oh, here he comes, bro.
is there another one we can move on to? He's the last one on the public
Yeah,
hearing.
he's the last public hearing.
Is he coming in?
Is he coming in or no?
No, let's
Go-
move on.
Going
Okay.
once, going twice.
Second call.
Second call. Sorry, are there any neighbors here for this?
He's not
Alright.
here, but he's not
So we
here.
want to
Yeah.
start the public hearing without him. Let's get there from the neighbors.
Or when he walks in, call it next.
Well, we're going on to a cell tower, though.
No, I understand, so,
But can we open the public
Can we
hearing
open
and
it
hear from the
without
neighbors?
here?
can you open with?
No,
with-
because he's
Oh, you
not
should
here
be
to
We should do
respond.
it.
Why not?
All right, we're sorry, folks, but we're not gonna open it without him here. So we're gonna go on to the next application, and then we'll see if he's here at that point. All right, so let's go on. Our first review of the evening is Appeal 3569, Homeland Towers. Homeland Towers LLC
Here he
is...
comes, here he comes.
No,
That's not him.
No,
no, it's not, it's cell tower.
There he is.
Here he is.
You almost lost your chance.
All right, sorry, let's go back to this one. Appeal 3469 Broderson, Gary Broderson, 65 Ford Road, was granted a special permit for an accessory professional use music studio to be located in his house on October 12, 2010, is before the board for the required 2-year renewal of said permit pursuant to section 194-90 of the zoning ordinance. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so you've been operating, actually what you've told us after our review last month was that you've actually scaled back. You're not doing as many lessons in your home as you
Yeah.
were originally permitted to do, but you are looking to extend your permit here for another 2 years. Anything else you'd like to add, or?
Well, I have my current schedule if you want to.
Okay, that's fine. We'll enter it into the record. Okay, so right now, you're showing that you're holding lessons in the studio Wednesday evening, Thursday from 4 o'clock until 8 o'clock, and Friday, you'd be open at 3, but done by 7. But no other hours right now. So that's the current schedule. Okay, good,
And
that's
that's what you
fine.
want to maintain for this next 2 years.
I'm good with that. I'm just working on the places right now, so
Okay,
I'm doing less there.
But what's in our hand is your proposal for the board to consider.
This is, I have 12 students in my home right now. I have 30 last time I was here.
okay, but he has eight openings for new students, so
Right.
that can work within these time
That
periods.
would total 22.
Okay, or 20. 12 and 8. Okay,
It's a music teacher, not math.
yeah. Thank you. All right, any questions from board members? If not, is there anyone to speak for or against Mr. Broderson's request to renew his special permit for the music studio? Come on up, Mr. Broderson, can we ask you to step away and have your neighbors come on up?
My name is Georgiana Bernhardt, and my property is adjacent to Mr.
Okay, can we ask you to
Broderson's.
speak up? We can.
Use the mic.
My name is Georgiana Bernhardt, and my property is adjacent to Mr. Broderson's. Actually, my backyard is his side yard where his driveway is.
Okay.
And last time that I was here before the board, I guess we had some concerns that we discussed and tried to work out so that he can continue, with his customers and his, music lessons out of the house. One of the issues that we discussed was the lack of privacy that I had in the yard and my concern for strangers in and out. And to some degree, that has been resolved. People are not using the driveway. I guess they're parking in the road. We had talked about putting up some kind of privacy screen, and we realized that it was a little more difficult to put trees along the driveway. So we discussed about having a fence put in, a natural wood fence, and, we were all in agreement with that, and I thought that, was, I guess, the best solution to try to, help him along with this. And, well, right now, I have quite an eyesore out the back view of my house. We had put an addition on, and we have large windows overlooking the gardens in the backyard, and up on the property goes up, and up on the hill is his driveway with this fence, which is not a natural wood fence. It was painted. It wasn't painted red, it was painted gray, so that is okay. But it was not done professionally like I had requested. I had sent a letter to the board asking that a professional fence company install the fence as opposed to a handyman. They know how to do it. I actually had gotten some estimates quite a few years ago because there's rock involved, and they said that they would have to use a drill, which they do quite often if they're going into the ground where there's a lot of rock. So from what I understand, that he was not able to get the fence going the whole way because I guess there was rock in the way. So someone on the board or a different board in the town gave him, I guess, the opportunity to not do the whole driveway. So there's maybe about approximately 2/3 of the driveway with a fence that is staggered. It starts here, ends here. It's not an even view. And this is my vista out of my rear windows.
Okay.
I guess, you know, a picture's worth a
Well, that's
million
why
words.
we've
If-
seen, I know I saw a picture, so.
Okay,
We're
if you're
checking
in
the
my
file.
house or on my deck, you can understand what I'm speaking about, the view. The leaves are off the trees for at least half the year where we live, and the view is a fence that doesn't, it's like halfway there. You know, people come in my house, and they're like, what's that? It doesn't go down the whole length of the driveway. It really doesn't look very good. Not to mention, a lot of that driveway is exposed to where the cars are parking on the road, waiting for students or, you know, parking there and going in and coming back out. So it doesn't shield my backyard from any of that.
Okay.
Okay, so that is,
What are you suggesting would,
well, that's why I originally sent the letter asking that a professional fence company do the installation. At this point, I don't know. You know, someone could maybe finish the fence and adjust the places where it's not even. It just doesn't look very nice at all.
what is your difficulty with the fence?
And this is just like a split
This-
rail
here's-
fence? It's not
these
a
are
blocking
pictures.
view or anything?
It was going to be a natural wood fence. It's painted. Like I said, it's not painted a terrible color. I guess the fact that it's not professional looking, you know, like a kind of put together kind of thing. It's not completed.
Well, I'm looking at this fence. The purpose of this fence is merely to prevent people from going off his property, I presume. It's not to provide it.
Right, it was to shield the driveway, people coming in and out the driveway.
To shield,
It's not covered. It doesn't go down the length of the driveway.
is there a problem with people coming off the driveway onto your property? I'm not sure what the purpose.
Right, I had explained last time we were here that, you know, I have a grandchild who likes to play up in the woods there, and, you know, there were people just sitting in cars and people walking in and out that I don't know, we don't know, you know, who's a customer coming in, who's, you know, a friend coming by to visit, and I think that to put half a fence up like that doesn't,
The fence doesn't stop that.
excuse me?
This fence doesn't stop that. I mean,
It creates a division, a privacy.
I guess it prevents people from driving their car across. But again,
Or
is
wandering
anybody
over.
coming across, have you ever noticed anybody,
Coming
any of his
to my property?
clients coming across onto your property?
No, but the idea of the fence was so that I don't have to be concerned about his customers coming in and out.
If I remember correctly, Mr. Borison had shown to the board a proposed fence, and that fence, I believe, was different than what he actually installed. That was a continuous fence, not just, not like a barrier that's shown up here. And if I remember correctly, it was to not only define his property from your, and clearly mark the property, but also as a privacy and also for the sound that was being created. He was going to soundproof the room,
Studio.
the studio, which I believe he may have done by now.
I don't know. I would assume that someone from the board would have inspected
Well, I
that.
had an inspector there, they looked at the fence and looked at the soundproofing. The inspector came from the town, from your board.
Not from our board.
And have all the specifics for the fence right in the agreement.
All right,
I was gonna say, do we have the old file?
let's stick with your neighbor who's commenting right now, and then we'll allow
Right,
you an
originally it
opportunity
was
to speak.
discussed that a fence would be constructed for the length of the driveway, obviously not at the very end because of sight, vision necessities, but there's a good part of it where it was not installed. And when I had called the town, I said, is this it? And it was a different board, I guess, that I called that said that he was given some kind of special permit not to do the whole length because there was rock there. That's what I was told.
Okay, so was half of it done? Was a third of it done? 3/4 of it done?
About 2/3.
About 2/3 of it was done.
Would you say,
Okay,
Jen? About 65.
I'm sorry, you are?
My husband, Justin.
Okay.
I'm her husband, and I watched them put the fence in, and I was expecting that it was gonna go the full length of the driveway, because
Okay.
we had a judgment that that would be part of the resolution.
Okay,
It stopped at a certain point. I didn't know why. My wife looked into it and said that she was told that it was okay that they stopped, based on what the board told her, that it was okay for them to stop at about a 65% point, because it was too difficult for this gentleman to continue the fence because there were rocks in the way. And then this is why we wanted to have a professional company do it, in case they ran into anything like that. They'd be properly equipped to be able to continue with the fence up professionally.
I'm not sure what happened. Somebody from the board doesn't go out.
it's not a stockade fence.
Yeah. Somebody from the board doesn't go out and prove it. He may have applied to the building department for a fence, but
Well,
what is,
That's the information you get
Wait a
when you
second.
call up.
but, looking at the pictures of the fence that's there, we approve. We don't have police powers or anything. We sit here and we do it. Something's brought to our attention, and then we can act on it. But what was approved was a stockade fence. I don't see a stockade fence. One of the conditions, I shouldn't say approved, one of the conditions was that a stockade fence be erected. I'm not sure we specified the length or not, for privacy purposes. So if it didn't go the whole length of the driveway, I'm not sure that would be an issue, because you're not worried about privacy for the first 50 feet of the
Yeah, we are.
driveway.
Yeah, we
That's
are.
the main part.
That's when they park in the driveway.
Correct.
Well, I'm just saying that,
I see, I get it.
I don't want to quibble about the distance, but you're worried more about privacy and people going in and out of the house and stuff. I think that was the concern that was expressed at the time.
It's coming up the driveway, and then their dog is out there, when people come in and out, barking and that sort of thing.
It's
so-
irrelevant.
That's
We
not
had a
privacy.
judgment.
Those aren't dog
It
barkers,
was
not
given, the
privacy.
judgment was given that we're gonna have a fence run the length of that driveway, which is why we were satisfied, and everybody went home, and we waited till this point. We didn't cry and come in here and complain. We waited 2 years.
I'm agreeing with you, it was required to be a stockade fence, that doesn't meet that requirement. I'm not sure our decision states how long it has to be.
Yes,
So
it
what's
does.
the length
It
of the
says
driveway?
Well, why
along
don't
the
we just look
applicant's
and-
driveway.
On the applicant's driveway.
A draft
For
that
the
we had at one point,
privacy,
actually
though.
had a dimension, but the one that you adopted said a stockade fence be installed / erected along the applicant's driveway for the privacy of the applicant's adjoining neighbor. So there's no specific dimensional.
So that has to be, if it's gonna be granted, he didn't comply with that, you're absolutely right, that has to be addressed.
Correct, and is it a stockade fence or?
No, it's got a picture, it's like a
It's,
modified.
it's wood, I don't know what a
It's a stockade
stockade.
fence, 6-foot
This, we
stockade.
think this is an old picture. I
It's-
don't think this is the
That's,
current.
you think it's an old picture? What is up there, is it slats going all the way along?
It's
It's a
wood,
stockade
yeah,
fence.
Stockade fence, okay, you don't have pictures of this.
not natural wood, but anyway, a couple other things. I guess I have some
And
concerns.
which side this faces you, do you have the good side? or
Yes,
the
have the
bad
good side.
the good painted side, yes. There are some concerns that I had expressed last time, and I guess, again, like I said, I don't want to stop him from doing this. I don't want to take away his ability to earn an income. I just don't want it to be at the expense of myself or any other neighbors, of our quality of life, as well as the value of my house. I guess some of the things that we discussed, he did not follow, as far as instructions that the windows have to be closed. There have been times the windows are not closed. In the back, I can see it from my yard. As far
This
as,
is when the music is being played.
as
He
as
can
far
play
as,
music if it's not for
yeah.
instructions at any time he wants.
right.
Right, but it's just a matter, we had a discussion about the neighbors complaining about the music being heard in, you know, going into their backyards. And I guess part of the agreement was that if you're going to insulate the room, you might want to keep the windows closed too when you're playing music. And the
Not for when
windows,
he's playing music, for when he's giving lessons.
Right.
Right.
If he decides that he's gonna have a jam session there with a lot of friends, just like anybody else decides what they want to do.
Right.
it's okay to leave the
We're
windows
not
open.
regulating
Yes.
that.
No,
We don't
it's
regulate
up.
that.
Jam session is
It's prohibited.
expressly prohibited.
I'm sorry about that, but if
That's
he
all right.
wants to play music, if you want to turn your stereo off,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. If he wants to play music for
Well,
his
this
own
was all part of the situation we were dealing with, and that was one of the things that, as I recalled, and I guess I was correct, that was something that was supposed to be,
It was during
addressed.
lessons that the windows were open that I had picked up
and
on, only because I
it's
saw
not
the
being
people come in and out.
addressed.
Okay,
And
there's
we have
nothing in
another
the-
neighbor here who can attest to that situation.
There's nothing in the
I have
approval
seen
that
it.
says windows have to stay closed during.
Okay.
Oh, I
Then-
mean, that's jam
Sessions.
sessions with students.
Was there,
I'm sure you can't have friends.
Rock band sessions.
if I remember correctly, also there were no bands, no
Right.
Sundays, no
We're having
Sundays?
rock bands, sessions, jam sessions, and similar gatherings.
Correct. And not only that, but we had also said it has to be soundproof. So whenever he's having the lessons, it has to be soundproof, which means windows closed. I mean, if the windows are open and he's giving, then that's violation of.
That was the
item
way I
number
would
one.
think it would be
Correct. I mean,
interpreted.
it's already spelled out here.
And not later than 8 o'clock?
The hours were according to the schedule that was given.
There's a schedule, it's on the back of the one Jim has.
Yeah.
What's the latest time?
7:30 PM,
That ends at 8 o'clock, right?
yeah. So that was Monday and Wednesday.
That's reasonable, I mean, you know, that's fine.
That's the
Yeah.
old one. I don't know what the new one's saying.
The new one is
We're not
now,
going by what was approved. He's asking for less.
yeah, it's still
Really
8
we're
o'clock, but now
complaining
it's just
about the
Wednesday,
hours
Thursday,
of-
Friday.
I also have another concern. You know, if he's granted this for another 2 years, what recourse do I have if he's not abiding by these rules? Like, who's enforcing this? Because the fence issue, as far as I'm concerned, he didn't abide by the rules, and it hasn't been enforced. I don't know, like, who do I go to?
Well, the building department
Building
is,
department,
is,
the zoning enforcement.
the building department complies or follows the guidance that we give them. So our resolution or decision and order tells them or directs them what would be or is not allowed there, so, but they have a copy of this downstairs after it's approved, so.
And if you violate a condition in a decision, order, or resolution, that could be the subject of a prosecution.
There's a zoning enforcement officer that's employed through the building department.
Right, okay, so if the windows are open and it's getting loud, or, like, I don't go to that board, what do I do at that point?
If the well, we don't have a zoning ordinance as far as I know yet. I mean, the town.
So-
Noise,
Noise,
There's
noise.
a noise ordinance,
There is now?
but
So,
I don't think up until 8 o'clock it's
Yeah.
an issue.
I mean, you have to see what the time is. If it's during, if you think it's during a lesson, then that's a problem.
Yeah, I'm only talking about during lesson time.
Yeah,
So who do I call?
Well, it's after hours,
I
and
live
then you
in
have to
town.
go the next day. Maybe they make arrangements to come by and see what's going on.
Oh, my God.
I don't know.
Just
Becomes
enforce it.
difficult, just with anything else. Yeah, you don't have somebody that's, the police department come by.
Mm.
I don't know if they would respond if you asked them. I don't know if somebody would go out.
There was another issue that you had raised last time about cars parked and idling and smoke being generated, people smoking and leaving
No, I haven't
cigarettes and
seen that, no.
beer cans and stuff like that.
I haven't been around much this summer, to be honest with you. I think it's been much more quiet than it was when we first, when I first came here. It could be because he didn't have that many lessons in the summer, I don't know, but there hasn't been an issue with idling cars. It's usually in the wintertime, more so, that, as I explained last time, with the windows shut and everything closed, for some reason, the way it carries, because of the contour, the way the property goes up in the back and the cars are parked up on the hill there. And I had mentioned how I could hear it in my bedroom window. I haven't had that, maybe because he's ending earlier now. It's not at 10 o'clock like it used to be, so that part is good. But the fence is an issue because the cars do park there, right outside the front, right, by the driveway, and especially with the headlights on, if they're waiting, the headlights could be on. And that comes right in. Here's the back of my house, here's his driveway, and the cars are parked right here, and it's a hill, so it's like right level with where my windows are. The fence going the whole length of the driveway really was my whole purpose of, one of my main concerns.
So if I understand correctly, all the other issues that were raised 2 years ago have been resolved, or at least your work,
They work.
You're working now. The only issue is that the fence is not complete. The stockade fence, it is a stockade fence and it is not complete, it has not been completed.
Right.
And that's the only issue.
As far as I'm concerned, I have not documented anything where there's been loud noise, late hours. Another neighbor has. Like I said, I have been not around this summer too much or inside with everything shut and my air conditioning on, so I have not heard too much of it. Once or twice, I was out in the yard, and yes, I did, it was maybe a month or so ago, the window was open to the studio, and he did have a lesson, because I looked to see, and I saw the cars, and I saw people in and out. So I do have a little bit of concern that the windows...
Was it on a weekend or something? Or
No,
was
it was during the week.
Okay.
It was in the evening, early evening.
Okay. Is there anything else? Okay, thank you. There's another neighbor. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what, ma'am? We need you to sign in, please.
Now, if there's other people after this person, then maybe you could sign in ahead of time, save some time.
Hi, I'm Anne Marie Beach. I live on Ritter Road also.
Okay.
And his backyard faces my backyard, which goes this way.
Okay.
And I have a pool in my backyard, and I like to be able to spend my summer in the backyard. And
Okay.
his lessons do make it a little unpresentable for me to be outside with the music. The window being open was one of the issues, and the window is still open while he gives his lessons, and you can tell by the amount of noise coming through the yards that the window is open and not closed, because it was supposed to be soundproofing, so that it did not disturb the neighbors. This is an issue for me. The other issue is you're saying there were supposed to be no rock bands. And what is considered a rock band to me would be bands like The Doors, Who, Led Zeppelin, and this is the type of music that is coming through the window, and I can hear it. You can hear them singing, you can hear them...
Let's back up a second. Are you talking about there are multiple students there or multiple
Yes.
people there playing
Yes.
music, or he's just playing a stereo?
No, this is multiple
Okay.
students. There are, on average, 2 cars on the road, if not 3, because I do walk my dogs every day around the neighborhood, and I do walk in front of his yard before I come around
Okay.
back to my yard. So there are more
So
than,
these
there is
are-
more than one student at a time in his studio.
Okay, but there's a difference between lessons and rock jam sessions.
Well, it's what it sounds like it's being done there, is a rock jam session, because there is more than one student. There are drums going, there are bass guitars going, there are electric guitars going, there's several different instruments and singing with the process of all of this.
Okay.
And it is loud rock, heavy metal rock music that's being played.
Okay.
And I have documented the nights that the band, or lessons, excuse me, his lessons have gone beyond 8 o'clock. On May 2nd, which is a Wednesday, lessons went till 9:30 in the evening. On Wednesday, July 2nd, July 18th, lessons went till 9:15 in the evening. On August 1st, lessons went till 9:45 in the evening, and on Wednesday, June 6th, lessons went until 9:45 in the evening.
Okay.
I think that is way beyond the 8 o'clock
Okay, previously, the schedule that was approved allowed him to go until 9 o'clock.
Okay, and the lessons went till beyond 9:30, 9:45
Okay?
in the evening, and with the window
They're all
open.
Wednesday nights. Okay?
This music also does agitate my dogs, that they go out and they run up to the side of the fence and bark, because the music does irritate them. I try not to let my dogs bark at that hour of the evening, because the gentleman behind me gets up at 4 a.m. He goes to bed fairly early, and I know the dog does disturb him because his bedroom window faces my backyard.
Okay.
So, trying to be a nice neighbor. I have a little dog, not a big dog. I try to keep my side quiet and peaceful, but yet we don't get the same return with the lessons being played and everything else. And I do find it annoying. I find it to be disturbing at times that, you know, I'm sick. I try to, in the afternoon, late evening or early evening, take a nap, and if my doors are open because it's a nice day, I'm awoken with the music, because like I said, then it aggravates my dogs. The dog starts barking, and it just doesn't help my condition any either.
Would you consider the sound that's coming from the studio to be excessive of what you would normally hear in a vibrant neighborhood?
Yes.
Children playing, your neighbor having a radio on, something like that? Okay.
My next-door neighbor, the house before me, he has parties in that, you know, in the afternoon or on the weekends, and they have the music up, and it's not as loud as what's coming, and I am closer to the neighbor before me versus the property from my house to his house, plus it's all wooded. So you would think it would be more of a buffer zone. The music coming out of the studio is louder than what my neighbor will turn on with a radio outside.
Okay. Is there anything else?
Like I said, I just would like the music to be done by 8 o'clock in the evening and not go beyond the 8 o'clock time. I think that we're being fair and letting him do this in his home and not be abused or having him abuse his rights onto us. You know, like I said, he was supposed to have a sound barrier, to soundproof that room so that it did not disturb the neighbors. And yet, we heard it all summer until, like I say, 9:45 in the evening during the week. So the rules haven't been followed.
Now, you have given these dates for 2012. Any kind of issues that were resolved, that happened in 2011, last year?
Nothing, as far as on my end, nothing was resolved because the window.
No, again, the dates that he went past his 9 o'clock.
Was this just this summer that you had this issue, or did you have the summer, the last issue?
It was the summer before, this year, only because of everything that was sent. I, knew that the renewal was up this year and everything, at least tried to document when the music went beyond, so that when we came here, I was at least semi-prepared to give you times and dates.
Okay.
And not just say, well, I think it was, I marked on the calendar the time that the music stopped playing, or, where, the most amount of noise was coming from the studio, but yet that window on his studio is always open, and you can see the window from my backyard, and you can see it from his side of the house when you're walking up Ethan Allen Drive. You can see that that window is open halfway because of the way the window panes are.
Right, okay.
You can see that it's halfway because you now have the top of the window frame, another, part of the frame, window, and then halfway up another frame. So you
Got
can
it.
tell that that window is opened.
Okay. Well, I would think the noise level is telling you that it's open as well.
That too.
Okay. Is there anything else?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Yep, come on up.
Hi, I'm Gary's wife, Mary. We have 4 cars in my family and 2 young daughters who have friends who come over. So that is really where the cars come in. There's hardly like 4 or 5 cars at a time, very rarely. Secondly, the window is never open. There's an air conditioner, it's soundproofed. The window is never open. Also, I mean, I hear pool parties during the summer. My kids have friends over, they're both musicians, my daughters. They play music with their friends, they hang out on the deck, they sing, they play their guitars. I mean, this is not the lessons. So, just wanted to state that.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Brunnerson, come on back up. The Wednesday evenings, were those lessons after 8 o'clock, or
No.
those were,
I just, I don't understand what she was hearing past 8 o'clock.
okay?
I mean, I have a jazz group that I do once in a while on 8, it's not a teaching thing. It's
Okay.
just a trio that I will sometimes go past 8 o'clock, but I really didn't think it's not heavy metal or anything like that, And it's only once in a while, but it's not part of my lesson program.
Okay.
As far as the fence, I mean, I have specifics on what was supposed to be done with the fence, and we met those requirements, and I had an inspector come.
Okay.
It has the length of the fence and everything on it, so as far as I knew, we met the requirements. I don't understand.
Yeah, did anybody bring pictures of what's there so we can see it?
Yeah.
Oh, this is the old fence.
Right, this is what we're
Yeah,
saying.
let's
What's in the
figure
file
that
is the
out.
old fence.
We'll finally figure that out.
No, it's a beautiful fence. I mean, it matches the shop.
Can't speak up here, Mr. Bryce, you get recorded.
This is the new structure. I mean, I actually have some pictures of the new fence in my phone. If you give me a
So
minute, I
it
could.
extends for 47 feet beyond the rear line of the applicant's dwelling.
That was the decision.
This is the difference between the decision and this. The permit was for extending 47 feet forward from the rear line of the house. So this didn't say all the way up to the road. I don't know.
This is different.
No, the DNO that was adopted took out the dimension, and the one that was adopted I have in my hand, and it says that a stockade fence to be installed / erected along the applicant's driveway for the privacy of the applicant's adjoining neighbor. So we had proposed in a draft decision order to put a dimension in that condition, and when you adopted the decision order, you removed the dimensional.
And apparently what I'm saying is the building department took it as 47 feet forward, and that's what they approved. So I don't know where they got that from.
So what happens is.
Because it looks like it's coming from
draft
the
DNO
draft
said-
of the...
That's what I'm saying.
The draft DNO said a 6-foot stockade fence should extend 47 feet beyond the rear line of the applicant's dwelling, 2 feet from the property line, with the good side facing the adjoining neighbor's property line.
That's what we went by.
That was a draft.
That's what I'm saying, but that's what the town inspector took to be as the requirements, and that's what was approved. Well, the only point I'm saying is that Mr. Broderson didn't intentionally violate the conditions of the
Right.
decision.
Well, it is a stockade fence, yes?
Here's your paperwork back.
It's very well constructed, professional.
Okay, I mean, can't tell without pictures, when we go out and
Right.
take a look at it.
I have pictures in my phone of it.
Yeah, but again, the thing is, we have a decision in order, and that has different statement than what the,
What the building department looked at.
But the building department told them what to put up and approved it.
All right, how much of your driveway is not covered by the stockade fence? If you did
Well, from the-
47 feet and it's approximately 2/3, do you agree with the 2/3?
It's at least 2/3. I really couldn't say. I don't know exactly how much driveway's left,
Okay.
but there's a lot of bush over there,
During the winter time, with the headlights of somebody who's waiting to pick up a student?
Nobody's gonna be waiting in that part of the driveway because.
They're not in the driveway. If they're on the street, are their headlights then shining into your neighbor's home?
No,
Okay.
no. There's a lot of.
Obviously, you heard what we heard, and that's what they told us.
Yeah, and, you're taking, someone's word, for what what they're saying.
I'm listening to what your neighbors are saying, which is the purpose of a public hearing.
Right.
I am now asking you the questions based on what we've heard, that there seem to be some discrepancies.
Right.
And we're asking for your take on what what you've heard your neighbors say,
Right.
okay?
There are no cars parked beyond the fence. You know, the fence is long enough so that if anyone's pulling in the driveway, it blocks the view of the car.
Okay.
The driveway is long enough to, you know, for that, for the
So,
cars to.
but are your parents waiting in the driveway, or they're waiting out on the street? Or you don't even know?
Most of them will park by the mailbox on the street.
Okay. And so when they're parked by the mailbox on the street, where are their headlights shining on?
They're not gonna, unless it's at night, they're not gonna have the headlights on. I
But
mean,
you're-
but
but you're-
if the headlights were on, there's no way she could see their headlights from my mailbox.
Okay, your classes are in the evenings, from October till April, evening is dark. So I'm asking the question, if they're parked at this mailbox, at the sign, where are their headlights shining? Is it down the street?
Down the
Is it-
street.
It's down the
Straight
street.
road?
I'm sorry?
The road is straight at that point? Is that-
Yeah,
An aerial
it's
or
straight,
something.
it's just, the headlights will be going straight down, it's not going in anyone's house.
Excuse me, can we please respect the speaker? All right? We gave you your time. Please show some respect for the speaker. Okay? And you'll have another opportunity to speak if you need to.
These cars are on the road. I mean, if they're parked by the mailbox, they're on the road like any other car coming down the
Right.
road. And, you know, and honestly, they would not be able to see these headlights anyway, because there's too much trees and brush in front of the spot you're talking about.
Okay. Sounds to me like we got to go over and do a site visit and just get a better sense of what this,
That's a good idea.
all right? Now, his permit actually expires tomorrow. The fact that he's before us,
In fact, yeah. then-
can we give him a 30-day extension to it until we've,
Well, we can
Had a
indicate to
chance
him
to
that,
review it?
that there's not going to be any code enforcement efforts against the property during the pendency of his application before this board.
so Mr. Broderson, come on up here for 1 second, please. Just help me understand, because I'm not seeing your driveway on the aerial here. We have an aerial of your neighborhood. Where is your driveway? And where would the mailbox be?
Which way is,
I don't know.
okay, so, Ritter Road would be this,
Okay.
I'm not sure which way it is right there.
Well, you're at the corner, right? Which way does your house face?
Okay, so, it'd be like this,
Guessing.
and then
So where's your driveway? I don't honestly see it on there.
so this would have to be, this is Ethan Allen, and this is Ritter.
Okay?
So my mailbox is over here.
Okay, so if your mailbox is here, anybody who's parked here is clearly showing their headlights down the street.
Down the street.
They're not showing in your neighbor's
Yeah.
backyard, house.
Exactly, I mean.
So it's not possible.
And if it was happening, you'd have to keep every car coming down the road.
Right,
And it would obviously be a nuisance, I think.
okay. You all can see that? All right, thank you. All right, is there anything else you'd like to offer?
I'm shocked that
Okay.
there's still a problem. I had a professional audio person come down and measure the sound
Right.
quality.
We see
And
that in
plus,
the
I added
last
soundproofing,
resolution.
and the town came down and inspected it. I never have the window open. They can't see my window from their house. I don't know what that was all about. I have air conditioning there, so I never use the windows because I know there's a problem with that. Plus, there's soundproofing over the windows, so I can't even open the windows.
So the question, I guess, would be, because your daughters are musicians, would your daughters, might they be playing sometime with the window open?
If my
Not
kids-
lessons, but,
No, if my kids are playing, it's acoustic guitar,
Okay.
singer-songwriter stuff. They're not heavy metal, you know. My daughter sings opera. It's not.
okay.
So you're getting a whole different, you know, perspective than what's really going on.
Okay, thank you.
Um,
We have-
Okay.
Go
No, I was
ahead,
gonna ask
you can, so
Okay.
more people want to come up and speak. Is there anybody who hasn't spoken yet? All right, go ahead.
Can I see that map?
Sure.
And
Come
direct
out.
you to
This is the aerial, and Mr. Broderson's property is marked in yellow. And so he's indicating to us that his driveway is here, and so the mailbox is going to be over here. So anybody parking here is going to be shining their headlights going that way.
Okay. Like I said, a picture's worth 1,000 words. You need to come into my house, come on my
Where's your
property,
house?
on my deck, and you would see exactly what I'm talking about. When they're parked here, I don't know how else to tell you unless if you're in my house, you'll see, and of course this is raised, so my level of my house, you're going right in there. The lights are here, I know it looks like it's going on the road, but I don't know what else to say unless you come and see. I invite you to come in and do a site check, go on my deck, you'll see all the windows in the back. Is this an old picture or recent?
It's probably in 2010.
Okay.
But again, this is from an aerial that could have been 2007,
Yeah, because
you know.
our house is very different.
But the board can walk on your property to do a site inspection?
Sure, please do. I wish you would wait though a couple of weeks when all the leaves are off the trees, to see what I see
Okay,
from in my house.
you can step back to the microphone, please.
To see the view from in my house, and then you'll understand what I'm looking at with the fence, like
Okay.
halfway down the driveway.
Okay.
Aesthetically, it's not pleasing, as well as, you know, to block people from walking, so I don't see them coming in and out the driveway, or the cars that are parked right by his mailbox there. I can see his sign that he has out there hanging
Okay.
from the mailbox.
Do you still have all these trees in your backyard?
The leaves on the trees?
No, do you still have all the trees back there? There appear to be a significant number
Yes,
of
but when the
trees back
leaves are off from beginning of November through the end of April, really, it's wide open.
Okay.
Wide open. You know, we had planted some forsythia bushes. They don't really do anything. It's actually, you know, in front of the fence, but
Okay.
there's definitely a void there where the fence ends. I can see the cars, you know, coming down the road from in my kitchen also, and my sliders. So, yes, I give you permission to come on my property. I actually would like for someone to come inside the house to see the view that I have now, the eyesore.
Okay. Can you do me a favor? Can I ask you to come up here again? Just write your home phone number here so that when I go out there, I can contact you. I don't want you to say it out loud. At the bottom, please, where this is that. All right. All right, thank you. Thank you. Okay, anybody else?
When you're doing the inspection from Ms.
I'm sorry,
Bernhardt's-
please, you have to stand at the microphone?
When you're doing the inspection from Ms. Bernhardt's yard, I would like you to come over to
Okay,
my...
I'm not promising I'm going to go to her house.
Okay,
All right,
but
I'm
you can
just-
see the windows on the back of his house and his two decks and everything else from my yard. You can see the whole back of
Okay,
his
so
house.
can I ask you to step forward again? Please indicate on here, where is your home? If this is his home,
This is...
Ritter Road.
Okay. This way, because it comes right on the curve,
Mhm.
the corner, so it's not a straight. The road actually starts turning, and this here would actually be my piece of property.
Okay.
And your house is where?
My house is probably right here once it's cut off, from where it's cut off. So you can see from my yard to the back, actually to the back of his, if this is the front of his, no, this
Oh,
is
he
the
said
front
this
of
is
his
his driveway
house.
right here.
This is the front of his house. I can see this whole back side of his house because it's actually a little more this way. And my yard is all fenced, the backyard is all fenced in, so from.
Are these trees not still, sorry, are these
Um,
trees still there?
Not as many. When we put the pool in,
Okay.
some of these trees did come down. The trees from the front of the front half of the yard all remained. A lot of them are falling now because of rot.
Okay.
It's a wetland in here.
Okay.
So a lot of the trees over this last few storms have taken down quite a bit of the these trees.
Okay.
But we did remove some of these trees over here when we put the pool in and
Okay.
the sheds.
Okay, no problem, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? I'm going to suggest that we adjourn the public hearing to next month, give us a chance to get over there and get a better sense of what's going on over there. So do I have a motion to adjourn this, granting Mr. Broderson a 30-day extension to his existing permit?
Okay, and that
Actually,
no
we got to
enforcement
give him more than 30 days because our meeting is November 13th.
till November
So,
13th.
Yeah, we'll give him until November 13th. So move.
So moved.
Second? Second from Tara. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we will see you, Mr. Broderson, next month again, okay? And in the meantime, I'll touch base with you and any of the other board members may as well, to just stop over there. Okay, thank you. All right, item number 11, Appeal 3569, Homeland Towers. Homeland Towers LLC is requesting a special permit to locate a wireless telecommunications facility consisting of a 150-foot tall monopole and associated equipment on a property located at 23 Dartantra Drive, Hopewell Junction, New York. Property is in the ownership of Tufaro. Pursuant to Section 194-80 of the zoning ordinance, the applicant is also requesting a 40-foot height variance for the proposed monopole as well as a wetland watercourse disturbance permit. Now, I need to acknowledge 2 of our members are recusing themselves. I do need Jennifer to come back up to cover on this. But John gets to stay.
That's right, that's right.
All right, Mr. Miranda.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Mirando. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Cuddy and Fader, and I'm here on behalf of Homeland Towers. Just very quickly, I'd like to summarize what we've submitted since our last appearance in July. On September 24th, we filed our submission with this board, which included a response to comments from the last meeting and some requests for information from this board, as well as comments from the board's consultant, Mr. Grafe. We also submitted additional EAF materials as well as revised drawings addressing all of the engineering comments to date. In prior appearances and in our submissions, we've gone through extensive presentations of RF data, RF materials, demonstration of need, demonstration of alternative sites and the rejection thereof. Tonight's presentation focuses a little bit more on the information that was specifically requested from this board relative to 2 sites in particular and a 2-site option that was also discussed. By way of background, I'll quickly summarize again that the purpose of this proposal is to provide the infrastructure needed for Verizon Wireless to be able to provide reliable services to an unserved area along with Taconic, Route 82, and the surrounding areas. I think we're all aware of that by now. As a result of this, we're proposing to construct a 150-foot monopole within a fenced compound on a large 16-acre property. I think, is it possible to shut the lights? Basically, as you can see in this image that we're showing up there right now, the property that is proposed for us to install this tower is uniquely situated in a way that the tower can be set back more than 500 feet from all the nearby residences, at least 500 feet. In addition to that, we went the wrong way.
Talk faster, I guess.
In addition to that, you can see it's a substantially buffered site. These are unique attributes to the site that will help shield this tower and create a buffer from the areas. Now, we've demonstrated in our submissions prior to this about the fact that it will be limited visibility from this location, that we believe that it's the best site available to meet the code objectives. And one thing I'd like to raise again is a key objective of the code is to minimize the amount of towers and antennas that are located in an area to close a gap. This monopole, which will again accommodate Verizon's antennas as well as possibly accommodate 5 future carriers, will do so as a single site solution. You can leave them off. Now what we're going to have now is basically Jonathan Edwards from Verizon is going to go through those issues with respect to the 2-site solutions that have been raised by this board, which I shouldn't use the word solution because they're not, they're options. And at this point, Jonathan will demonstrate why they do not work as well as 2 other additional sites that, again, were raised. Jonathan?
It'd be much better for that to be lights off for longer.
All right, if you're still going to be showing more presentation, then yes, we'll leave the lights off, assuming Mr. Edwards can see his own notes.
Yeah, hopefully. All right. All right.
Can you
Yeah.
see or?
Have to just adjust to the darkness here a little bit, but I think I'm good. Good evening, Jonathan Edwards, radio frequency engineer for Verizon. So again, I was asked to look at the couple of alternate locations, and specifically I was asked to look at an alternate means to represent those plots because there was some ambiguity on the previous submission. So I looked at some alternate mapping methods using our existing propagation tool, exporting that information as is into a map software, and that's what's being shown here, and that's why it may look a little bit different than what was previously submitted in terms of formatting and so forth. But it's 100% based on our propagation tool that we have used throughout. So the first slide here, similar to, again, what we've always shown, using our 850 megahertz coverage, using the neg 85 dBm signal level. This is the standard that we've always used and we continue to support, that we've used throughout our network, throughout Verizon nationally, and in fact, what most providers in today's technology, whether it's other service providers, it's typically what they use for their signal thresholds. So it's an industry threshold. So again, that's why we're using that. So the first slide that was one of the alternates that we were asked to look at was Rand Water. This is just a map of the site by itself. The coverage really is confined to the north and to the west, and that's due to terrain, as I've shown in previous submissions. The next slide, it's a little hard to see maybe, but the hard material I think is a little easier to see. But what we're showing here is the light blue is the existing coverage, the darker blue is the planned coverage, and the orangish color is what we plan for future sites. And then the shaded green, brownish color there is the RAND. And this was shown, again, based on what Mr. Grafe suggested, so that it was a little easier to see how that fits in with the other planned sites. By itself, as you can see, there's a coverage hole that remains to the southeast. That coverage gap is half a mile. The next slide is the other alternate that we looked at, is Anthony Associates in the town of LaGrange. Similarly, due to terrain, it's blocked to the south. This is, again, at negative 85 dBm, 145 feet center line. The next slide, same slide overlaid over the proposed existing and planned coverage, and that gap there remains at 0.4 miles. So again, by itself, that site doesn't fill the gap. The next slide was an alternate that's actually an existing site. Upon further review, it was discovered actually that Homeland discovered that the site actually is an 80-foot pole, and the available center line is actually 57 feet. So this is actually why you may actually see that this is different than what we submitted previously, where we showed 80 feet. Now, because of the difference, there's a lot reduced coverage, and that's because there's a lot more clutter, a lot more terrain that's going through. So unfortunately, because of that, it's not going to work for us as a single solution. The next slide. As you can see, because of the terrain block, it's blocked to the north, and it leaves a 2-mile gap. Now, Mr. Grafe suggested that we look at a 2-site solution, so that's what we did here. The Anthony Associates at 145 feet, and the 190 Old Sylvan Lake site at 57 feet. At that site there, the gap shown there is 0.4 miles. The next slide, just overlaid on the existing planned and future sites. As you can see, with the other sites, that hole still remains. The other alternate, using Rand water now with 190 Old Sylvan. Similar situation because of terrain and because of the low height of 57 feet at 190 Old Sylvan, the gap there remains at half a mile. Again, just overlaid over the existing planned and future sites. And then you can see the gap there.
So go back to what's your proposal? And show me the coverage area with your proposal. Again, it's been months since we've seen this.
Sure,
so.
sure. That's our site by itself. And because it sits up on the hill there, it's hard to control some of the RF. So you see some of that extending further up north and out to the southeast. But as you can see, the whole from Knoxon Road down to the south, past our site, that stretch of this kind of parkway is covered.
Okay.
And then this actually is, with all the sites together, this is old colors based on the previous submission, but blue is existing, and then the orange is the planned and future sites.
Okay, of the, Mr. Graves' first initial analysis showed that 80% of the coverage area was already covered, and it was only 20% new area. That area that's the 0.4 miles, what percentage is that?
I didn't calculate it out. Well, the 0.4 miles is actually, if you use the two-site solution, the 0.4 miles is what remains open. I would say out of the coverage objective, saying that the coverage, or that the coverage hole is 100%. The 0.4 miles, I'd say, is about 20% of that hole is still missing.
So of the coverage that you're providing, that's the full 20% that he said you were?
No, well, he's saying that, well, if you go back a couple slides. The site by itself. Yeah, he's using that whole site area as 100%, and then go to the next slide. Actually, just the existing coverage. Yeah, that gap there is 20% of the overall green coverage that was on the site by itself.
Right.
So then now, the coverage now, I guess if you look at just the white space, instead of the overall length of it, I'm saying just 20% of that is going to remain, so that stretch there.
Okay, so if the white space here equals Mr. Graves' 20%, you're saying 20% of the 20% is the area that we're talking about that would not be covered.
Correct.
So, okay. What's 20% of 20%? 4%? I mean,
Yes, 1/5
yeah.
would be.
1/5 of 20%?
How much?
1/5, so it's 4% of your,
Well, it's still,
yeah, okay, that's a good question. If 4% is 0.4 square miles, then 20% is, help, 20 square mile? I mean,
Yeah, it doesn't
no,
make
it's
sense.
2 square miles.
yeah. Well, that is a 2-mile stretch there.
It's 0.4.
So that's the only coverage that you're missing on this picture here is 2 miles, or is it 4 miles?
Yeah,
2 miles is missing now.
Right.
But without doing this tower, doing the 2-tower solution that we asked them to explore, they'd actually get 1.6 of those square miles.
And that's based on their propagation software.
Right.
Right.
So in reality, you may not be there. You may not have a gap at all.
Right.
'Cause you're saying right now, in that area, Verizon doesn't have any coverage for 2 miles?
Based on our neg 85 signal level.
Based on that, I don't think when I'm using my phone on the car, there's a gap of 2 miles in our coverage in that area.
Well, and I can
That's
tell you,
what I'm saying.
my house
Well-
is in that white area, and you can go to a certain point in my house and there's coverage.
Well, again,
So-
I'm looking at just at the parkway. I don't.
Well-
Right.
Well, based on our system, -85 is where we consider reliable coverage.
Okay.
And that's our threshold. And that meets our objective to cover in-vehicle usage and outdoor usage. So being that this is a highly traveled vehicle area, that's what we're trying to do here.
Okay, keep
In
going.
my language, how many bars does that equal that it covers?
Can you
bar-
hear me now?
How many bars is it now? Is it
bars-
1?
bars is a
it
couple-
0? Is it 1X?
It's not 1X. I've gone through there with 1 or 2 myself. But again, bars is not really a good indication. That's why we have our software and our tools to measure the actual dBm levels. Because actually what happens with the bars, actually it's an algorithm that takes place both with your receiving signal level, it takes into account your signal quality and so forth. So the -85 dBm ensures that we can provide a good signal and a good quality and have reliable service through that stretch. And that avoids having lost calls, dropped calls, that kind of thing. So the bars thing is misleading.
Okay.
But
John, if I could just interrupt.
Sure.
And one thing, just as far as percentages go, I know we're throwing that 20% new coverage number out there, but I believe that's from Mr. Graves' original memo back in April, maybe?
Right,
And
okay, whenever. Yeah.
when he was talking about it, and my understanding was the 20% of new coverage, meaning that, okay, there was the big issue of overlap from one site to another.
Right.
Well, that's in the concept of where the coverage will actually provide new coverage versus what will overlap over the planned and future sites. You have to understand that even like Rand, like we just showed you, there's significant overlap. It might be a different level of overlap. So it's not apples and oranges to say 20% here, 20% there, 20% of 20%. It's not that type of analysis.
No, but it is, because you're telling me that this area is white, and so how much of the white area is now going to be blue, right?
Yeah, in different areas, though. It's not exactly like a straight, clear overlay. So it's just to be understood is, and what I believe Jonathan was saying is that essentially when there's a gap along the Taconic, for instance, what we're talking about right now, a half a mile, 0.4 mile, whatever it may be, it's still a gap, and it's a gap that needs to be closed. And I think that's the point of the presentation, what we're trying to relay here. Sorry, Jonathan.
That's fine.
Well, before you leave, though, we have a submission by somebody else, right? And you say that gap has to be closed.
I'm sorry, a submission by
By Mr. Braun.
Mr. Braun?
Randy Braun, who argues that legally it doesn't have to be closed.
One of the neighbors to the Dartantra site.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't have a chance. I didn't know that was it.
But as an attorney, I mean, his legal argument is it does not have to be closed. You just have to have reasonable coverage to the area, and that there's 3 other providers that are providing coverage to that area already. So when you use the term "has to be" mandatory, is that really technically correct from a legal point of view? Or something that you have to close from a service point of view?
Good evening. For the record, my name is Anthony Joffrey. I'm a member of the law firm Cuddy and Fader. I'm here with Anthony Morano on behalf of
Can we turn the
Homeland.
lights back on unless you're going to use the presentation? Thank you.
Again, for the record, Anthony Joffrey, a member of the law firm Cuddy and Fader, here on behalf of Homeland Towers. We have not received the correspondence referenced by Mr. Braun.
I'm just asking you a legal question, though, that
if I can-
does it have to be legally, do you have to close it, or is this a request by Verizon that they want it closed for service purposes?
Okay, if I can just back up and clarify the point that I was going to make initially is, you're referencing a specific document submitted by an attorney, Mr. Braun, who I understand is a neighbor.
Yeah, and
Okay.
he raises a legal issue, and I'm asking you a legal question. Legally, is it your argument, as an attorney, that it has to be closed? Or is it more a correct statement legally that there has to be proper coverage on the area that is being provided by 3 other providers, and that when the phrase "has to be closed" is being used, that's a requirement that Verizon wants to be met as opposed to a legal requirement?
Again, I don't believe the FCC uses the language has to be closed. I don't think that's a legal term, so I would prefer to answer it in different ways, and I would like to reserve my right to answer that at the public hearing on this matter, and we would certainly request a copy of the submission made by Mr. Braun. I think as an applicant, we have the right to receive that, and obviously we'd like to see the context within which that term is used so that we can adequately respond to that, and I'm sure you can appreciate that.
His submission's a public document.
I mean, a phrase was used, I was just asking
All right,
that
let's let
phrase to be
Mr.
explained.
Joffrey at this point continue with his.
No, I thank you. I appreciate that. And, given that, neighbors are submitting documentation, that we're being asked to respond to neighbor documentation, it's probably appropriate at this time, given the length of time that we've been at this process, number of hearings, a number of submissions, and we would respectfully request that you schedule the public hearing so the public has an opportunity to weigh in, to provide documentation, to be heard, and so that we can adequately respond to the comments that the public would make on this application as well.
Okay. Is there any additional presentation that you gentlemen need to do tonight for us, or?
If I may introduce Manuel Vicente, he's the president of Homeland Towers. I think he would just like to introduce himself and make a few comments for the record as well.
Sure.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, Tony said, my name is Manny Vicente, and I'm the founder and president of Homeland Towers. I wanted to give you a little context because we have been at this for some time, looking at this area. We started looking at this area in 2005. We looked at a number of different options. We tried very hard to find a location that would meet the technical needs and at the same time follow your code as best as possible. I think we documented that history and alternative site analysis that we provided. But what we have here is a situation where we have some difficult terrain. We have a hole on Taconic and bad coverage in surrounding areas, including 82. When we look at the terrain, and I think it will be helpful to look at some of the terrain maps because it helps, it kind of goes along with the coverage here. RF signal doesn't go through mountains, doesn't go through stone, doesn't go through trees sometimes. And the area that's trying to be covered, that needs to be covered, the only way to cover it, and I think once we look at all the documentation together, the maps, et cetera, you start to see that the only way to cover it is to be in the hole itself, or as close to it as possible. And whether the gap in coverage is a quarter mile, a mile, 2 miles, it essentially has the same effect for the user. It's a drop call. It's not reliable. And I think that's important to establish as well. And I'm looking really forward to having the public hearing to get the input and the concerns from the public to address as many issues as we can, hear what issues that we may not even be aware of. We did a balloon test. I was present at the balloon test. I think the balloon test shows that this site is well hidden. I think there may be certain perceptions that public and people have without seeing all the information that may be incorrect. I think having all the information and having the public view all the information is going to be helpful to them because there may be some concerns and fears that aren't real. So we'd like to get this process to a public hearing so we can consider things that have been submitted by the public, consider additional comments by the board or Mr. Graff, and answer them to the best of our ability and kind of explain to everybody why we're here and why we've selected this property. Part of it is what's available, part of it is what technically works, and part of it is your code. And our job is very difficult. I develop sites in residential areas. I'm doing one in my neighborhood now. And it's always a very difficult thing to do. This infrastructure is important. It's needed. It is mandated. And it's not sufficient that one carrier has it and another doesn't. That was the whole purpose of the Telecom Act, is to increase competition, to lower prices, to make these available so we're not paying 25 cents a minute anymore like we used to. So these are really important issues, and I think we need to communicate all of it to the public and show them the visuals, show them how we came to this site, go over the alternate site analysis, and do the best job we can of providing the information and eventually having this board reach a decision. So we're excited to get to that point. We've been stuck looking at RF maps for a while. I'd like to consider some of the other factors that brought us to this site and listen to the public, and hopefully some of the concerns that the public have may be addressed by our presentation and the visuals and other things that we communicate. Like I said, it's a very difficult job that we have. We didn't come here overnight. We took our time. We have a record of requests to the town for properties they control or had that could be used technically. Those were not, unfortunately, the town didn't think they were appropriate and didn't move forward at the time. It's a long history here. We like to tell that story. And we'd like to get the feedback so you folks can make the best decision that you can. But we can't do that if we don't set a public hearing. We can't get anywhere. And I don't think it's fair to look at these maps in a vacuum and to start talking about percentages, because when Mr. Rongraf says that, you know, there's about 80% duplicative coverage. But the intent of the site is to cover a specific area that needs coverage. The additional coverage, the overlap coverage, is just a byproduct of what we're trying to accomplish with this site. And and I think it shouldn't be a focus in itself. And we want this board to understand what we're doing, to understand the coverage, the challenges, and if there is a better way to do this, we're not here to bang our heads against the wall. If there's a better way to do this that works, we're not crazy. We'll do it. But right now, we don't see a better way. We've looked at this hard. We've worked on this all summer long as far as the RF information, been back and forth with Mr. Grafe, try to do the best we can. I think he's acknowledged that. And I think we deserve to tell the story to the public now. So that would be my request this evening, and any questions you have of me, I'll be happy to address them.
Okay, we acknowledge your request. Please don't deny this board our obligation to do our review.
Absolutely.
So that we're not asking the public to come back repeatedly because we haven't done the review and we're not down, you know, I think I'd like to get us to a point where there's a real reason why we're really looking at this site. All right, and to do that, we really had to do the due diligence. The fact that it's taken months for your group to get back here, you know, it's been months since we've seen you. So we will try to move it forward as expeditiously as possible, but don't deny this board our obligation to do our review, okay?
Well, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
let's not go there. The question I guess that we still have at this point is, you're asking for an exception to the code. You're still asking for a tower that's 150 feet. You know, if you're trying to get to just that 20% area, and I understand there's duplicative coverage, but you know, part of what we've been understanding is that duplicative coverage can sometimes be a negative to cell phone users. So if you're trying to get to this 20% area, I guess I'm having a hard time understanding why the 150 feet. Why not lower? That's what you know, if you're really focusing on let's get this coverage area better or fill this gap, that's what I guess I'm trying to understand.
If we go through the RF maps,
Okay.
as far as the coverage of our site and what happens as you lower the elevation, I think it tells that story. I think it does tell the story. And, you know, the work that we did this summer with Mr. Graff, it was back and forth. It wasn't, you know, we waited a week or a few weeks. We've been working on this continuously. And I think, you know, to your point, why can't we go lower? I wish I could go at 110 feet. I really do, because it would be a lot easier for us. But technically it doesn't work. And I think if we go through the coverage maps, if John can walk you through the coverage maps as we lower the height, you can see what happens to that signal from our site. And as far as duplicative coverage is something that happens when you have a network in multiple sites. You look in places like New York City, you have overlap all over the place. Right. So it's a consequence of providing an overall network and dealing with the constraints of terrain. If it was a problem for Verizon, who has the job of designing and maintaining and making sure this network would be reliable, I think they would have a bigger concern with that issue than anybody else. So if we want to walk through the RF maps, at least to address the issue of why can't we be lower, I think we can do that this evening. And it's my hope if we can at least make sense of that for you, maybe we can get to the next step. And I'm not, look, it's not my intention to push anyone, and I want this board to have everything they need to do to make a proper decision. But it has been some time now, and we have put a lot of work to it. And we do want to understand what other issues that may be out there that we're not aware of. And the only way to do that in fairness is to have the public input.
Okay, we hear you.
Yeah, this is what we went through last time. As I said earlier, the greenish color there is our proposed site, and the orange is the future sites, and the blue is the existing sites. This is 146 feet, which is the green, and then the 106 is that brown hashed color. So as I showed earlier, I believe actually is the next slide as well.
So where is that area that you said was the gap? It looks to me like it's covered with the hatch.
This
Hatched
is our site that we're proposing on our
Right.
Tantra. So if I'm using at 146 feet, I get the whole stretch that I'm looking for.
But at the 110 feet,
The 110
you're
feet,
covering
if you-
where that gap was.
But now I don't cover the north end, which is where there's a gap as well. Because that whole stretch is what I'm trying to cover.
Then you have another cell tower you could use.
Right, then the overlap there is,
Because you're gonna have future cell towers that are gonna be supplied anyways.
where some of them exist now.
You know, and some exist now.
The two-site solution that you requested was,
No. Suppose we allow this one. I think the chairperson is asking a different question.
oh, okay.
We allow 23 Denantra Drive,
Mhm.
but we allow it at 110 feet or 100 feet. You could now close that half-mile gap or whatever that it is that you say you cannot close. And then by your future towers or the existing towers, you have all complete coverage. Is my phrasing the
Yep.
question correctly?
No, you got it.
Our job is to cover the whole.
Right. We're getting you to the point where you're covering that gap in service.
I think showing that plot, I think, is a little misleading, because if you look at this plot, let's say, go up a little bit, right there, a little lower, sorry, right there. That's about where the gap starts, right there.
That wasn't the .4 square mile gap that you were showing us with the two-tower solutions.
Right, that's
further
further
down.
below, right. So you're saying if I'm at 110 at my site, I'm going to have a gap to the north.
But I think what Mr. Edwards is saying is that with the two-site solution using a different site other than this tower, the site is in a
That's
different
not the question
location.
is. The question is using this
Hold on, let
tower
him finish, Jim,
at
please.
a lower height though.
No. Using the two-site solution by putting a site to the...
We're actually now talking about a three-tower solution.
No.
Including your tower.
No. Taking our tower out of it.
No, but we're
That's what we
not.
just said.
We're
That's not our
saying,
question.
can we work with
Oh.
existing two towers, adding your tower in, but having your tower at a height that meets our code?
So a three-site solution?
Well, but are the other sites new sites? Are they new towers?
There would be two new towers, because there would be a co-location on one tower, and then two new towers.
I don't know.
It'd be our tower and a brand-new tower to the north.
To the north, to Anthony's Associates doesn't exist.
Right, it does not.
That tower doesn't, that's just a
raw land.
That's a future
Just
plan, or that's a?
That's a location that the site acquisition folks identified as a potential and was provided to me to evaluate.
Right.
But there's no existing structure there today.
But then you keep talking about proposed sites into the future, and this is one of my questions before, the last time we were here, is it's being structured in such a way that we're asked to do this one, you have to do this one because of this. But in the future, we may doing this and we'll get overlap anyways. And so I felt that we were being herded into this narrow confine that doesn't really have to be done that way. So I guess the question still is, though, is with these other existing towers, if you have, you kept saying that you have a quarter mile or a half mile coverage gap. If you put this tower at 100 feet, can you use the other towers and get complete coverage?
What you're saying is to
We'd
get
have-
that, you have to
We would have
actually
to
build another tower
Yeah, there's no existing structure.
at
What-
Anthony's Associates
correct.
site.
Or at Rand, there's nothing there currently. There's no existing structure there.
Okay.
Okay, but then how about the two sites that we told you to look at, Sylvan Lake?
That's the
One-
ones I
one-
was referring to.
Right.
190 O'Sylvan, which is to the south, on the south side of the hill.
Right,
That's an existing 80-foot pole. It
okay.
has 2 carriers today, so the available center line would be
Is
57.
Verizon on that
No, we're not.
tower? Okay.
So if you use that one and use the
So
other
show,
one
yeah,
that
show
we
us
talked
where
about.
that, show us what that gets you.
That's that. Yep. That's on the latest submission.
Okay,
That's this view. But this is by itself.
okay, is that area white without this? No, it's there
The-
now.
The area in white, this is just 190 Old Sylvan by itself, just for that scenario.
So it doesn't get you the coverage in the
It doesn't-
northern part, but
correct.
but it,
It's effectively
Now-
covering the whole.
no, it's not,
So-
it's still missing the whole.
So it's missing that piece to the north, basically on the north side of Dartantra, north side of that hill.
Now you put up,
Now,
you
110-foot
put a
tower.
100-foot pole up, don't need a variance on the height, well, cover that hole.
where we're proposing it now?
Yes.
You mean?
Yes,
Yes.
No, it'll be blocked by the terrain to the north because Dartantra is somewhat of a plateau. So the lower you are, it'll be clipped and you'll miss the piece going from 82 north. What I showed in the last time submission was overlapping coverage, so the hash was just a comparison of the lower height with the higher height, so that's why there was
Right.
no white in there. So I think that's what maybe why it was a little confusing, that you're saying it was covered. So now you're saying in a 3-site solution, if I went here, our site at a lower height, I would still need a 3rd site to the north that doesn't exist today that I have to build. Further, that site to the south here, because 57 feet is what's available today based on what was found, that center line now is below the trees, so that significantly diminishes the signal because now you're blasting through the trees, and Verizon uses several frequencies, particularly the higher ones are more affected by foliage and terrain.
Okay.
So then the next slide, the next couple of slides, I was showing the 2-site solution that was asked about.
right?
So
That's what we're saying.
So right now, Anthony, there's no existing structure there, but it was a location that we examined at one time.
How high of a tower were you looking at?
The north one was simulated at 145 feet, and then the lower one at 57 feet. Or
They're
the
not
southern
existing now?
I'm sorry?
They're not existing?
The lower one is
That
not.
southern site is. That's an existing pole, but it's only an 80-foot pole. It has already 2 other carriers on there. We're not on that one.
And did you give us one with the 2 existing on the same map?
2 exist.
Do we have
Which-
one to the north and one to the south?
There isn't one to
Yeah.
the north. What we were looking at is on their original submission to us, they showed areas, other areas that they considered.
Yeah, but I thought we had 2 existing poles, north and south, that could be used.
No.
Silver
no.
Lake Road.
Maybe there's too much.
No, the request was the alternate location that we looked at as a single-site solution.
Right.
Mr. Graves suggested, can we look at it as a double solution? But those 2 northern sites, Anthony and Rand, they're raw land, what we call raw land, which is,
Okay.
there's nothing there today,
So
so we'd have to build.
So one was, this 57 height one is what you're showing us now on the bottom.
Yeah.
And Sylvan
And
Lake,
that's actually,
Sylvan Lake provides what coverage? Did you show those
The
two?
area,
I guess those are
why
the
is,
two I'm
why wouldn't it have been
asking.
the area at the bottom there?
That's what I'm asking. Is there anything that shows those two together? Sylvan Lake and, what is it, Rand?
and which one?
The one, the 57-foot high one.
That's
the
that one.
57-foot high one.
That's Sylvan Lake?
Yeah.
So there was never another one that I'm thinking of that was existing.
We,
I'm seeing too many different
well,
locations.
go to the next slide. This is what, the blue coverage is our existing sites, and the darker blue is what we have planned to actually be built, and then the orange sites are what we had future plans for. So I don't know if you were, maybe you're thinking the one just to the northeast there, that's one of our existing sites. But to the north, on the north side of the hill, there's nothing existing there.
So you can go out and improve service immediately by co-locating on the Sylvan Lake Tower. It doesn't get you the full service area that you're asking for.
No, in fact,
We understand that.
right, correct.
But you can improve service tomorrow by co-locating on that tower.
It'll add supplemental service, but it won't, it'll be duplicate, and, you know, it'll be almost 100% duplicate versus covering something, which is what I'm doing here, covering that gap that I'm, you know, to the north, really, that 2-mile stretch that I was talking about earlier.
If I may, one of the issues, you know, Jonathan doesn't necessarily focus on this because he's
Can
not
you speak
engineer,
into the
but-
microphone?
I'm sorry, one of the other issues of the existing old Silver Lake Road site is
Right.
there's a fundamental lack of space there, too. It's a very small tower. It's already got 2 tenants. It's a very active facility, lots of parking, tennis courts, et cetera. It's very limited for the type of shelter and equipment that Verizon generally puts.
Okay.
You know, we don't think, we've looked at it, we don't think there's enough space to boot on top of the
Okay.
RF issue. So it's the only existing site that can benefit, that can help us here, but it's really low at the available space at 57 feet. And there's severe space limitations. I'm not even sure if we would be able to put a shelter there.
Okay.
So, sorry, Jennifer.
Oh, then the other thing I was kind of somewhat alluded to, while it duplicates coverage, I mean, it would add service, it would add capacity and so forth, which is kind of going back to a point you were asking earlier on the
Right.
overlap coverage. You know, Mr. Grafe made a couple comments on overlapping coverage, but, and then as Mr. Vicente said, you know, based on our network criteria, based on the Verizon standard and so forth, and what we configure, we can support some of that overlap. And what Mr. Grafe talked about in his last submission about pilot pollution, that typically happens when you have very weak coverage, and when you have multiple towers getting in to a similar area at very similar power levels. What the CDMA system does then is incorporates all those systems together and actually is detrimental because that creates noise. What's happening here, because our tower is going to be a dominant signal or a strong signal and overpower some of those other ones that are surrounding it, there will only be a situation where you have 2 cell sites covering the same area. So that's not going to be an issue for network operation, and not be an issue that Mr. Grafe refers to as pilot pollution.
Okay, are there any other presentation that you want to go through tonight, or?
Just the last couple slides there had the 2 site solutions. Actually, just go back. No, that's it, yeah, same one, but I'll just go quickly through them. That was the 190 and Anthony Associates.
Right.
Again, showing the gap there. The next one with the overlaid sites. And then this was the RAND, again showing that the 2-site solution doesn't work.
One more question about the 2-site solution.
Yep.
If this 23 antenna drive is approved, you're never gonna come in and ask to put a cell tower on any of those 2 other sites. There's no reason for those then.
Any of which ones?
The other 2 sites.
The Rand
Oh,
and the
no.
Anthony's
Rand and
Associates.
No.
Anthony Drive.
No.
You will never need those, okay.
I'd like to make a suggestion, just if we can go, if you can go over the terrain maps, because I think the terrain maps along, now that we've gone over the coverage a little bit, I think if you look at the terrain maps, you can see some of the challenges that we're face here.
Yeah, these will be the last few slides here. Also part of the comments were, why didn't we look at something further north? And what I wanted to show here, this slide is just about Todd Hill Road and just east of the Taconic Parkway, looking south. The Taconic Parkway being just to the right of the arrow, and then the north, that's a north arrow on the bottom map there. So north is towards you. So heading south is the Taconic there. A lot of severe terrain there, and then the hill going up from 82, going up the hill. So I just really wanted to show that we didn't look at anything to the north really because being to the north, there was a lot of terrain challenges. Again, this is just terrain, but now you add in foliage and building structures and so forth, severely diminishes the signal level. And then the top view there is just a profile view, simulating 145-foot height there, and then going towards Route 82. And then the next slide, again from Todd Hill, just at the intersection of the Taconic shooting south. Very similar picture, just the rough terrain there. And that one, even go back, even more so on the top view. You can see just you'd be trying to blast through a hill there to try to get to Route 82. And then the next slide, to the west of the Taconic, over near Noxon and Stringham Road. Again, very similar. This one more so closer to 82, where you have terrain issues, and then going up the hill towards where Dartantra is. And you see how the top of the hill there, you won't get to the top of the hill and past the hill. So that was my last slides. I'll pass it back to Anthony.
Okay. So can we turn the lights back on?
It just arrives.
Yeah, it's a little blinding. As far as just bringing it back, we've obviously made our request known again that we do request that a public hearing be set after tonight's presentation. Just again, by summary, the purpose of tonight's presentation was to focus on the information that was requested, and again, the two-site solution or two-site option, including the Rand property known as Rand, the property known as Anthony Associates, with another site co-locating on the one existing tower on 190 Old Sylvan Lake Road. As we've demonstrated here, that doesn't close the gap that's necessary for Verizon. That being said, in the context of meeting submission requirements, when we're discussing completeness and the purposes of moving forward to a public hearing, we do believe we have satisfied all the submission requirements for this town, under this town code. We don't see at this point any reason not to set the public hearing. It gets to the point of what will it take to do that. So again, we've already appealed to that. We do request that happen tonight, and that's, other than responding to questions, that's...
Since we saw you last, we've dealt with another application, and we've learned a lot, obviously, by doing that, okay? And so I guess my next question is, again, I'm still getting to the why the 150 feet. What's your distance between your co-locators? Are you still at the 10-foot separation there? And if so, why do you need to have that why that gap? Because we've now learned that you really can get coverage. You can have a significantly lower difference between the co-locators. So we're trying to get it down. This tower is tall. Can we get it down to a reduced height because you can shrink the distance between the co-locators?
Well, you're looking at Jonathan to respond to that. And we have submitted those plots showing the loss of coverage at 10-foot increments as we go down.
Which we've also learned is fairly insignificant, and and not necessarily
No, we'll have,
measurable
we'll have
in a
Jonathan.
significant manner.
We'll-
That's
we'll-
why I'm looking at Jonathan,
We'll have
yes.
Jonathan respond to that then, because we do not agree with that assessment, but I'll have Jonathan discuss it.
Sure. So, based on the previous plots, looking at the terrain profile, which is, I use in conjunction with the propagation plots, I use the terrain profiles and that sort of thing, really to make an engineering analysis. And based on what I've seen, and based on our tools, which we calibrate regularly, and we have our data set to 15 meters, so it evaluates every 15 meters the clutter, the terrain profile, the foliage and so forth, and based on all that, you know, I feel that we need 145-foot center line, and unfortunately, you know, as Mr. Graves suggested, a CW test, you know, we can't do one here because there's a lot of limitations there to access and that kind of thing. You know, it did show the drive test data that we have for the area that definitely closely matches our existing coverage, and based on that, feel that our model accurately represents our coverage.
Let me ask maybe the same question.
Thank you, because I'm not sure I got the answer. Go ahead.
If you need 145 feet as your center line, are you telling us that nobody else can co-locate?
Right.
Because anybody less than that won't be
He's going to get
affected?
crappy service?
No, I have no idea what AT&T may use or what T-Mobile may have and so forth, so their requirements may be slightly different. They may have sites in a different location, that their gap may be a little bit different, so they may actually be okay with having 135, for example. So you know, it's hard to say what the next co-locator could do.
I'm probably better at answering that question than Jonathan, since my business really relies on co-location in order to be profitable. And as and as a businessman, I can tell you that we probably, you know, we wouldn't be undertaking this if we didn't think that this is a facility that other carriers could use. As we find out today, that other carriers are on different locations, not exactly on the same locations Verizon's at. For example, the old Sylvan Lake Road. Because of that, everyone's requirements are going to be a little different. For Verizon, and that's what this is about right now, for Verizon, this is what they need. I'll also address the question about how close the carriers can be on a pole. It's a standard rule of thumb, right down to how poles are manufactured, that 10-foot separations are a smart idea. It's a rule of thumb to address any potential interference issues of close proximity of those antennas. Now, the actual spacing between antennas is less than 10 feet, because antennas vertically are 4 feet or 6 feet, and if you have two of them at different, your separation is actually closer to somewhere around 6 feet between antennas. So you're getting pretty close there.
Oh, we were thinking,
So-
we're talking center line.
Well, yeah, we're talking center line to the tip of the antenna. So center line is 10 feet, but tip to tip, it's a lot closer. So, you know, I just want to make sure people understand. We're getting, at 10 feet, you are getting as close as you possibly can get. And as a business person, I wouldn't be entertaining this project and moving forward with it if I didn't think that this hole is something that needs to be addressed by other folks, and that their criterias are going to be different than Verizon's. Verizon's right now has a real problem here. So.
And just on that last point that Mr. Vicente made, as well as I'm sure you all seen the commercials on TV with everybody going to LTE service, 4G services, and everybody's using their smartphones and iPads. Some of the antennas are even 8 feet tall. So what you've probably seen in the past are 4-foot antennas. Some of the LTE antennas are going to 8 feet.
Any other questions from board members?
No other questions or comments right now.
So, schedule this for a public hearing?
I have no problem with that.
I have a motion to schedule for public hearing on November 13th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll see you next month.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. They've worn me out.
Don't let them know that. All right, sorry, folks. Item number 12, Appeal 3599 Del Grande, Angelo Del Grande, 93 Spyglass Hill Road, Hopewell Junction, is requesting a 36-foot rear line and a 13-foot sideline variance for a proposed 12-foot by 20-foot shed pursuant to Section 194-107 of the zoning ordinance. Good evening. Just give us a minute here to get the two other board members back, if we haven't lost them altogether.
Yeah, close enough.
Well, they're
I thought I was
asleep.
done after that.
Oh, no, we're not quite done.
Wishful
The old
thinking.
rules, 10:30?
That's planning board rules. It's not zoning board rule. And it's whatever item we were on at 10:30.
Right.
We'll get, don't worry,
Other towns.
we'll get through the rest here. I don't know where they went to.
They fell asleep.
Barbara, can I ask you to go and shut that door to the lobby there, please? Thank you. Oh, I think I hear Aziz. Thank you.
Del Grande?
He went and got coffee. And you didn't bring us any? Jeez. All right, folks, we're on Mr. Del Grande's appeal here. All right, at our last meeting, we did have some extensive discussion with Mr. Del Grande, and we did agree that, you know, at a minimum, I was going to go out and do a site visit and get a sense. I'm going to call your attention to a previous application that we had right down the road related to a wall. All right, and if you all remember the backyard related to the wall or walls.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this house is about 10 houses down from there, if I took a guess, and has the same backyard. It is, when we looked at the aerial, it appeared like it was a flat yard. It is very definitely not a flat yard. When you're on his driveway, you can't even see, the yard just drops off. If anything, you're looking at the second story of the house behind him. So it is a significant drop out of it. It is not flat, and because it drops down, the only way he'd have the ability to relocate a shed further north or further up on his property is for him to somehow wedge it up on the back, because there's just no, it's not a flat area. So, you know, and based on, you know, our walking through it, you know, he does have the ability to go around the left-hand side as he goes around the back to be able to get around to this area. And yes, I questioned as well with you know, the transportation that he uses. He actually does have another vehicle that gets him around his property to be able to get back there. So his house had his garage had a lift in it to be able to store his snowblower and other materials so that he can get access to the vehicles that he needs, and the ramp within his garage to be able to get into his home. So it is, again, I just call your attention, we're all familiar with the terrain on this side of the street of Spyglass Hill Road. This is a very, very similar backyard. He really, in my estimation, did not have any other options in terms of finding the flattest area for the garage use.
So we need a public hearing then.
That would be my suggestion.
So I would make a motion to put it on for our next
For a
public
shed,
hearing.
not a garage.
Yeah, for
Sorry, yes, for the shed,
Shed.
to clear out, to help them
12 by
clear out
20
part of his
shed.
garage. Okay,
for our
so,
November hearing.
So moved. Second.
all in favor? Aye. Okay, we will see you next month. Pam, could you just get the sign materials to him, just so you know about the sign you have to put up? All right?
Can you also bring some photographs, because I mean, I have gone.
He brought photographs last time, but
Okay.
believe it or not, they don't do it justice. They don't, because we looked at it and, again, didn't see.
That's why I didn't.
I was almost tempted to take one from your driveway just to be able to show that if you really, there's nothing there, you know, it just totally drops off.
Okay.
But he did bring photographs last time, and it didn't help. It didn't tell the story.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you. We'll see you next month. All right, item number 13, Appeal 3604 Bercielli. I hope I'm not saying that wrong? Okay, Vincent A. Burchielli, 17 Saddle Ridge Drive, Hopewell Junction, is requesting a 7-foot sideline variance for an existing 12-foot by 12-foot deck pursuant to section 194-107 of the zoning ordinance. Okay, who put this deck up?
Well, we bought the house in 2010, and the deck was there already. From what we were able to find out is that it was part of the original construction.
Okay.
So there was a question about it when we bought the house in 2010, which then got cleared up, and I have something here I can give you, which was from the town. It said that somebody came out and inspected from the building department, then determined it was part of the original construction. So.
They should have given you a variance then as part of the original construction.
Isn't it?
It was our first house.
That's all right. Let me just see what this says.
So if it's, why isn't it grandfathered in if it was part of the original construction of the house?
Okay, I'm looking at a survey up here from July 2010, and it shows 2 wood decks already on the property.
Yes, and the one in question is the side.
So, I mean,
Okay, but unless he's here for something else, why would we even deal with this?
Well, that's what he's got.
Yeah, that was my
How does it? When was your house built, do you know?
Yes, it was built in 1971. And the deck we wanted to repair, we knew it was old. We liked the idea of the side deck when we bought the house. And when we had a contractor look at it recently, he actually recommended replacing it because it was old, and he said the footings weren't good.
Okay, so that's the issue, is you're looking to replace the deck.
Yes.
And so to get
And then, so he came down to get a
deck.
permit, and then they said, oh, no, that's in violation.
Okay, but I think the explanation that we have is we're talking apples and oranges. One is, did they put up a deck without a proper permit? They went out, that was the accusation, and when they looked at it, they said, no, this was part of the original construction, so
Right.
they're not in violation of a building code. However, that doesn't take care of the variance,
Right.
so he still needs a variance.
Okay, to put
So he didn't
the,
have any building violations.
Okay,
For you to
so-
replace
But
the
you didn't
deck.
have a variance either.
Yeah.
okay. So, and that's, again, this is our first house, so we're,
Flip it apples and oranges.
No,
You wanna
that's
take this
fine.
back?
yeah, sure.
So are you looking to expand it? Or
No, actually, we were looking to replace it with the same size, just with newer material. So what we did is, as soon as the contractor came back and said we needed a variance, that we went and I checked with the neighbors, and I have something I can give you too. They signed saying that they're okay with it. The deck's always been there. They were happy that we'd be replacing it, refreshing, with something new. So the only thing I wanted to ask is, I don't know how this works. It sounds like there has to be a public hearing. I was asking for expediency because what we did is we're doing some remodeling on the house now that we've been there 2 years, and it's a renovation refinance loan that we're doing, and it turns out that you have to be done by like a certain date, so we have to be done by December 22nd. So it sounds like it'll fit with the timelines, and
Because November 13th should still give you plenty of time to do that.
right. So that was my question then. So after the public hearing, it sounds like from what I see
The
tonight.
next day, you can go get your building permit, okay?
And then, okay, good.
All right.
So that was our only concern, my wife
But I
and
do
I.
have a question. Your survey is showing a greenhouse, old greenhouse. Is that still there? Because
No.
that would be in violation too.
Oh, good. No, we didn't, it was run down. We had it taken down when we moved in.
Okay, so that's not there?
No.
Okay.
Oh, good to know.
Then can I make my motion for a public hearing?
Yes, unless anybody else has any questions.
yes, I was gonna suggest if you can talk to the surveyor and just have it updated. It'll
Okay.
be just so much easier for us to see exactly what the current situation is. Because
Okay.
they already have a survey, they just have to update it.
That was when we bought the house.
Correct. So
Yeah.
if you can just have the same folks go and just do an updated survey,
Okay.
that'll be
They
just.
might just be able to print off the computer, they just do a site visit, make sure the greenhouse isn't there.
Correct.
Terrific. Yes, I will do that.
Okay.
But in other words, motion for a public hearing for a November meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Please
And
please
if-
see Pam, she'll give you your noticing instructions.
Okay, and any of the additional materials, like neighbor signatures, that they're okay? Should I give
You
them
can
to
bring
you?
those next month, but
Okay.
again, take pictures, please, for us.
I did. Do you want them now?
Bring it all
Yeah,
next
bring it all next month, because this
Pictures
way
of the
we'll,
old deck. We didn't put a new deck. yet.
understood.
Gotcha.
Show us what you have there.
You don't want to do it before you get approved.
Yeah.
Right. Good answer. All right, item number 14, Appeal 3605, Di Battista, Michael Di Battista, 10 East Meadow Court, Hopewell Junction, is requesting a variance to construct a 1,000 square foot detached garage pursuant to section 194-107C of the zoning ordinance. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, first question we have is why so large?
From my understanding, your maximum size is 750 square feet. I'm
Right.
requesting an additional 264 square feet just for storage. I have
Storage
a
of?
two-car garage at the moment. It's a 20-year-old house. It has 7.5-inch or 7.5-foot wide garage doors.
Okay,
My vehicles, I have all trucks. My wife has a small SUV, which does fit in the garage. I have 5 vehicles. 3 of which are on my driveway, 1 of which is in the garage.
okay.
Because I cannot fit.
You actually write on here the need for storage of work vehicles. Can
Right,
you
one
explain
of
what you
which
mean
is
by
a
work
work vehicle,
vehicles?
and I have very expensive equipment. I own a technology company.
Okay,
So one of my vehicles has valuable equipment, and I feel more secure parking that vehicle in a enclosed area.
What is it?
I'm sorry?
What kind of vehicle is it?
It's an Astrovan.
But you keep equipment in it.
I do,
Yeah.
that particular vehicle, correct.
Well, we're still getting to why 1,000 square feet, though. I mean, you got,
I have recreational vehicles. I can go on and what I have that is currently not enclosed in my garage.
and this is not gonna create a problem, otherwise with setbacks, it's gonna be behind your
Oh, no.
house, all that
If-
kind of stuff.
Plenty of property.
okay.
The additional space is specifically for storage. I have
Is it
half
one
a basement in my home.
This is 1 story or 2 stories?
That's 2-story,
Why 2 stories?
just storage. I'm not,
Well, it's hunter-gatherer.
All right, what's the size of this? We just see you have
It's-
1,000 square feet.
it's approximately
What's the measurements?
1,014 square feet.
1,014?
39 by 26.
39 by 46?
26.
26.
Yes, ma'am.
Again, 39 feet, I mean, why
3-car
30?
garage, and it has,
Oh, okay, so the 39 feet is that way, okay.
yes, ma'am.
And why can't you attach it to the house?
I have a well that falls right between where I'm requesting to put the garage and the home.
Just for curiosity, how big is your house?
It's 2,600 square feet.
2 levels.
Sorry?
2 levels.
Yes, sir.
So you're
So
basically building
1,300.
something almost as big.
50%.
Well, the footprint of it is gonna be
Because you're gonna be
almost similar to the
two-story. You're asking for 2
footprint of
stories
your
again,
building.
right?
Right.
And what is, and it's all just for storage?
Yes,
You're
sir.
not moving your mother-in-law?
No, it's not going to be a dwelling
Is
of
it
any
a full
sort.
set of stairs in there, or?
Inside the garage, yes.
Okay, is it a full second story, or is it 1.5 stories?
It's full second story
Second
based on
floor
this
plan.
picture. This is a salt box style, right?
Yeah, there's a dormer to give me the added space for the height, so I don't have to worry about, getting in and out of the second floor. It's never going to be a dwelling. My septic fields are in the front, I have a well in the back.
This is huge.
You could put 5 cars in.
It's 264 square feet larger than what you have for a maximum size. I don't believe that's,
And it's gonna be a third of your house size.
excuse me?
It's gonna be a third of your house.
Well, it's almost, the 1,000 square foot footprint is almost as large as his footprint of his
No,
house.
it's not.
His footprint is
It's
1,300.
Right, I said
5%
1,000
the size.
is almost 1/3 of the third, the
So
2,700.
I don't believe that's correct.
Because you said you're
said-
2,600.
I'm 2,600 square feet.
And you're putting
On
up
2-story.
2,020.
No, I'm not, it's not 2,000, it's 1,014 square feet that I'm in record.
And a second floor.
Based
But
on
the
the
second floor is
2-floor
not
use?
equivalent to the first floor. If you look at the plans that I'm presenting, it's, the
Well, I
size
only
is,
see the side views, I don't know.
Yeah, we don't have the,
if you
there's
open
the
up the
floor
plans,
plan.
it,
all right, we see it, okay. Because of the dormer, you've lost some space up
quite a
top.
bit.
Still,
And the front of the,
About
the architectural
12
design.
feet by 14 feet on 2 sides.
38 by,
Right, I'm not understanding why you can't move it closer to your driveway, closer to,
I have a well. That's right
your
between.
well is not showing up on the survey, so can you show me where your well is?
Sure.
oh yeah, it is, it's definitely over.
All right, because if we moved it over, okay, so why can't it go right here?
Leave us alone.
Or whatever, catacorner, this way?
with the location?
Because we're trying to get you so you don't need a variance. I mean, that would be the
If you
idea.
attach it, you don't have to see us. Isn't that ridiculous?
Well, it's not attached, it's at this location.
It's not, but I'm asking the question, first off, why can't you put it
Put it
here?
anywhere that you like, I have plenty of room there.
If you attach it to your
So
house,
attach it
even
to
by
your
a
house.
breezeway or something.
But this is the house, this is the driveway.
Right.
It's not gonna be attached right here.
If you attach it to your house right here,
Can't you design something that looks
No,
nice?
look at the driveway though, look at the, I mean, this is the apron up here, this size of the driveway is only, what, 6.5 to 7 feet wide? And you want to put a
So
garage?
attach it by that corner there, make it real nice.
put it back, well, but you're saying you can't put it back because of the well. I don't have dimensions here, so I don't know how far back you go.
Setbacks from the well, how far do I have to be from the well?
I don't know.
No, there's no setback.
There is no setback.
No, that's not, I read, it's approximately 9 feet.
I was gonna say 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
There's
it's not
none
a
that I'm
setback, but
aware
you
of.
have
Mr.
a
Gillespie
sufficient
would know.
distance away.
What's that?
Mr. Gillespie might know.
There's no full separation from the
Right.
house to a well, it's just really not close to the wall rig, up against without scaling the foundation.
Thank you.
And you might have to do that at some point, technically, right?
I'm sure he's probably done that already.
Well, I mean, no, I mean, you have to redrill the well or something. May not be likely, but there is a possibility of something.
Yeah, but I think you should,
I do,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
okay.
I do have an existing shed here, which is gonna be removed. It's not on the plans, but right where this is located, there's an existing shed. It's a 10 by 10 shed, and I'm removing it.
You couldn't fit your storage in 10 by 10.
No, I'm gonna love you to come take a site visit, you'd understand the vehicles and
Is that your shed? Or that one, right there?
this one here.
Look, the town became very concerned at some point about the big garages that were going up. You know, diminishing the house in perspective and that kind of stuff, and they passed a statute that we're supposed to enforce unless there's a real hardship. But by attaching it, you don't have to see us at all.
Do you have
You don't have to be concerned with it. If you could attach it in some way to your house that was aesthetically pleasing, you wouldn't have to see us.
Or
You
even,
got
or
plenty
even
of-
moving it over?
You got plenty of,
Well, you'd still need to see us because of the size.
I was really trying to avoid that because of the type of things I'd be storing in the garage. I mean, I have a skid steer, I have motorcycles, gasoline, I just,
no,
you know.
you rather have that burned down by itself.
I'm sorry?
Come on. Okay.
I'm teasing.
Is your property flat, or is it, it looks like it's
Obviously,
sloping?
the vehicle is sloping. You cannot see my house or the,
Because it's sloping
it's
down that
going up
way?
from the street. There's an incline.
Okay.
So you cannot see my house or the proposed structure. The only neighboring homes.
Okay, so again, I guess I go back to, you need a, sorry. Oh, your variance is just to get the, because it's of the size.
Right.
It's not the, it's not the yard setbacks.
No.
So if he attached it, he wouldn't have to see us, he can make whatever big you want. But otherwise, I mean, you can't.
So why, if your
Dimension size.
typical vehicle is, you're gonna, typical parking space is 20 feet. Why do you need
Right,
the
my truck is
26
20
feet?
to be exact.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you need
You
some,
need a depth of at least 24 feet.
Right.
By the time you have block construction.
If you wanted
but
to
if you subtract 2 feet by 39 feet,
Yeah.
I'm trying to, I mean, it's not as much as he needs to subtract, but,
It's getting there.
Hence the space above the garage, because once the vehicles are in there, I'm limited. It's really hindering me from achieving my objective.
What's the height of the, is it 8 feet or 10 feet for the garages?
I believe it's 10 feet.
Pardon me?
10 feet.
10 feet, okay, so then you will,
The height of the structure is 25.
25, so,
From what I understand, that's the maximum
yeah,
height.
correct. So you will have 10 feet by 10, so you'll have, at the Second floor will have at least 8 feet.
You know what, we've asked other people for this. Can you show us a floor plan that shows us the size of your vehicles to demonstrate why you really need this size space? I guess
You
I'm
have to
having a
really
hard time
justify
justifying
You
it.
have to justify your
I'd
hardship.
be more than happy to show you.
All right.
You can come to the home and do a site visit. I can show you the interior of my current home and the lack of storage that I currently have, opposed to what I'm requesting. It's not a problem.
You got 4 vehicles, but you could, if you cut it down a little bit in length, I don't know what else you got. Which is also ironic, you could put up your garage and keep your 10-foot by 10-foot shed.
The current condition of the shed is,
Well, I mean, that
not
might
very
be
good.
part of the answer, though, is reduce the size of the garage and have another shed to put your 18.
well, I did the calculations.
All right, at this
I mean,
point, actually, we can have to go back to the microphone if you don't mind.
I've done the calculations with the maximum requirement or the maximum size of the structure. I just can't achieve fitting, I'm not going to invest the money to build this structure if I can't achieve putting my vehicles in or storage. It just doesn't make sense.
Are you going to have any,
But it's easy to say the word storage. I mean, it's hard for us to imagine that you almost, I mean, you're putting up a substantial structure. You
Well,
aren't
my
putting up
basement,
something like 1,800
I have a
square
half a basement with a, what do you call it, like a rat slab, it's just, you can't even get in it.
crawl
So
space?
it's a crawl space. It's a very limited house, I have an attic, but it's not easily accessible, and to carry, stuff all the way up to the attic, it's quite
What
difficult.
kind, what do you mean storage? What do you have that you have to store that much stuff that you need, whatever it is, 800 square feet upstairs?
It's the storage and easily accessible that I'm looking to achieve. Right now, I have no access, or I'm limited access to actually store stuff.
No, but are you one of the, one of these people that put up 10 million Christmas decorations in the
No,
home? What are you trying
I'm not that
I
type.
don't know. Somehow it has to be justified to us. I think just saying the word storage doesn't convey it to us.
Well, it's the size of the
Floor plan
vehicles
for the-
on the first level of the garage that would be well occupied once the vehicles are in the structure. Therefore, eliminating,
You have 3 motor vehicles you want to put in there.
I have 3 motor vehicles that I want to put in
And
there.
you have what else?
I have another vehicle that goes into the home right now. I have recreational vehicles that I want to take out of the home.
Okay.
And then I plan on getting another.
That's what we're asking you, I guess. I mean, justify the size somehow to us. I mean, we're gonna have to see something. You're asking for a variance, you have to justify.
I understand.
And a floor plan.
Floor plan that shows where all the vehicles that you have and where they're going. It's a good idea.
Okay.
Just make it very visual. And that goes in the file, so we know what you've been approved for. And if you can minimize it, try to knock it down. As closer you are to the 750, easier it is for us to
I
approve it.
didn't feel 264 square feet was an abundance of space. Yeah.
Well, there is no magic cutoff, but the law says 750.
Except for 750.
That's what the law
I understand.
says.
And that's why I'm here trying to get a variance.
I know, and then you have to justify it. So obviously, if it's just, well, I want to store a lot of stuff, that's not, we can't really approve it for that reason. You gotta give us some detail to justify it.
Understood.
And
I'll be more than
closer you
happy
are
to bring you
750.
an itemized sheet of what I plan on to store.
No, actually, we're looking for a floor plan.
Floor plan.
Literally,
Floor
show
plan,
us.
whatever it takes, I'll be more than happy to provide that for
I
you.
mean, to be honest, whatever it takes is not the answer that we need. You need to justify to us why you need the space.
Well, I just explained the vehicles are going to take up the majority of space in the structure. I don't understand what else, how else do I need to,
But as was indicated, if you go from 26 feet wide to 24 feet wide, that cuts off.
That cuts it down. 25% is a
80
great, is a
80 feet,
significant
You're a lot
variance.
closer. You're a lot closer to 750. I mean, so you have to make that calculation.
Actually, you're
Coming
more,
in and us saying no, or you working to get it down to justify exactly what you need to convince us, and that's the issue.
you're actually saying that it's 25% larger than what's allowed by code. It's actually not. It's a third larger, because you're allowed 750.
mhm.
So you're asking for an extra 250 square feet, 264 you said, so that's more than a third larger than what you're allowed. So that's significant.
And you're focusing in only on the first floor.
Right.
You have a huge second floor also.
Well, once the first floor is, where do I put my deck furniture in the wintertime? Yeah, I have nowhere to put this stuff, it's just, there's quite a, once again, I can give you a list. Unfortunately, I'm not prepared to do so. I didn't think it would go this far, to this extent, to have to, justify it. And I appreciate what you're saying. I don't mean that in a derogatory way. It just, there's quite a few items that I will be storing in the garage.
And frankly, I mean, my sort of the opinion is, once you justify the first floor, I'm not that worried about the second floor.
Understood.
As long as you don't go above the height requirement or anything like that. But, you really have to justify that kind of a.
I understand.
33%, 1/3 bigger than what the law says.
Are you proposing any plumbing in this structure?
None whatsoever.
Okay. All right, what's
Just,
the pleasure of the board?
I think we put it on for a public hearing, and he comes in and justifies it.
Thank you.
Is that a motion?
Motion for public hearing November meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And again, when you bring the floor plan, just put all the vehicles and.
Right,
explain.
in each bay,
Thank you.
but consider shrinking it if you can.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 15, Appeal 3606, Light of the World Ministries. Michael Valencia, Light of the World Ministries, is requesting a use variance to allow a church at 5 Donovan Drive, Hopewell Junction, zoned I-1. Property is in the ownership of Anthony Domenico. Mr. Gillespie,
Good evening.
thank you for your assistance earlier. Okay,
We have
go ahead, take us through what you're proposing
a
here.
logistical issue here. The site itself is located off of Donovan Drive.
Right.
Familiar, Lime Kiln Road, cross 84, you take a left. Hudson Highland Veterinary Hospital is on the right-hand side. As you make your way into Donovan, it's effectively a 90-degree turn. At that 90-degree turn, this is the site, the building that you look right at. It used to be referred to as the Icon Building a few years ago. That was the occupancy. Currently, it's about a 10,000 square foot building altogether. And there's effectively, let's call it 3 bays that are, in terms of usage, it's broken into 3 spaces. One of those spaces is currently being occupied and used, light industry and so forth. As mentioned, this is in the I-1 zone, Industrial 1 zone. What I was approached about with the ministry was they are looking to purchase this building, okay? The problem is within the I-1 zone, a church is not a permitted use. Now, use variances, they're not given away. I understand that. And typically, when somebody walks into my office, first thing I say is, they don't give those away. The logistical difference on this one, I believe, is, and I don't have the benefit of the history of next door, but there is an existing church that resides right next door. Okay?
In this building, or is it in another building?
No, it's in a separate building.
It's in a separate building,
But it's on this
okay.
parcel right to the right, okay? So,
That's the Covenant Church.
correct. And they've been
Okay.
there for quite some time. I assume they must have come through this board in order to obtain those approvals, okay?
They did, but it was a while ago,
Right.
and so things have changed a little bit since then, so that's why there's a little,
Is there a daycare back there too?
yeah, Bright Horizons.
There is also a daycare. Yeah. I know that in fact, the I-1 zone, it's been that way forever. I do understand as well that, again, if they went through the proper procedures and so forth, they should have come to this. I know there's a little bit of a different philosophy in the town now as it works toward these things, where it used to be a little bit easier in working through and getting these type of variances. But what we're trying to determine, again, is prior to moving ahead with that, obviously they want it for their use, okay? And as it stands right now, they would be looking to occupy at least one of those bays. I don't want to hamstring it to the point where they would just occupy that. It would, as the ministry expands, it could be 2, it could be the entirety of the building. Certainly the use issue goes with the site, but just so you have that background,
Do you know what their hours of operation would be?
We had the discussion that they are going to use it during periods of the week, but this is a traditionally based ministry, and Sunday is the big day.
Okay.
So from a traffic standpoint and those type of things.
Right, it's off hours.
It's off hours, it's Sundays, yes.
Okay. All right. I was advised last Friday that there's an expired building permit on this site, but it was for electrical work, and so it could very well be that the electrical inspection was done, which is why we agreed to hear this.
Okay,
But we just haven't received it yet, so can I just ask you to follow up on that in the event that we haven't? Mary's not, she was supposed to let me know if anything was resolved, but unfortunately she's ill. So, could you just check on that on your end? If they've ordered, if the electrical inspector's been out there and they just haven't filed the paperwork, could you just let them know the town is still waiting for it? Okay?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
I guess the question is, based on our discussion last week with John, is whether a use variance is actually the best way to go here. And so I think that the board needed to hear
I
that
think this should be
discussion.
thought out a little bit, because Mr. Gillespie is right with his knowledge of engineering and also his knowledge of use variances. That he used to get them at one time, then it became almost impossible to get them. Then the state of New York relaxed a little bit, but it's you pretty much have to show that you cannot get a return for uses that are permitted in that zone. So it's tough. It's tough. But I think what we could do is we could maybe explore some other avenues with Mr. Gillespie.
Okay.
I have a couple thoughts. So.
I think, and that makes sense to me to some regard, to see if the use could fall under some other kind of permitted or special permit accessory use within the guidelines. I know.
There's also some federal legislation involved here.
Okay. I mean, I know we've looked at that before, but, they were advised to come here and make this application to seek this. So if there's another way to go around it or go about it,
Well,
then that would be great.
I'd be happy to talk to you and explore some of those.
All right.
But use variance is tough in New York. Very tough.
Okay, if we, at this point, I'm not sure this is ready for a public hearing. You've got to resolve the electrical inspection, and we've got to resolve what is the appropriate
Mary
relief that we would give.
was telling us once the electrical inspection would be done, you'll get your C of O.
Well, not them, because they don't own the building.
Well, whoever
We'll talk to him. It may have been for the fit up. I'll have to get through with her the details of it, but
Not sure.
I'm sure it's a resolvable issue, so.
Yeah, no.
Mary seemed to think so, again. That's
Yes.
why she was okay with us proceeding with hearing about this.
Okay.
Okay, so if the church purchases this building, is the other user going to be staying? Is the other use still going to be industrial?
The intent would be yes, and I want to say, I don't know the exact use, but I understand it's a very light, like a printing, it falls under the definition of that, but they're
Right.
not,
Yeah.
it's not large-scale manufacturing
Right.
going on, and,
Okay.
so forth. So, yeah, the intent was yes.
Okay, so let's give this, in the meantime, you and John, I guess, will discuss what's the appropriate avenue for this to go, and then we'll revisit this next month.
Okay. If
Okay.
I can direct.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay?
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
All right, item number 16, Appeal 3607 Edelson. Evelyn Negron Edelson, 56 Somerset Road, Hopewell Junction, is requesting a 1-foot variance for a proposed 5-foot fence to be located in front of the rear line of her dwelling pursuant to Section 194-98 of the zoning ordinance.
I'm her
Good e-
husband.
Okay, good evening. Mr. Edelson.
Yes. Basically, we put in for the variance because the way the house sits, where the fence is going to go from the southwest corner, east corner to the southwest corner, it's going to pass through the rear property line for that approximately 30 feet. And the reason why we wanted to extend it from that point was to enclose the shrubs and the bushes from the deer, basically.
From where?
From the deer.
From the
Oh.
deer, yeah, from using as a
You
buffet.
think deer don't jump fences?
Typically, they're not, we don't see them.
Oh, they jump my fence.
5 feet.
Good luck
Yeah.
with that.
4 feet, maybe.
Yeah, 4
5
foot,
feet,
4 feet they
maybe.
can definitely jump.
5 feet they can jump to.
And also for aesthetically, and I think it enhanced the property too. It's a decorative aluminum fence. So,
Decorative black aluminum fence. So
Yes.
you can see through it, is it?
yeah, you can see through it, yes.
Yeah, you're saying for privacy?
No, it's just decorative. It's a nice little
Oh,
fence and
okay.
with rust. It's, you
Yeah,
know,
the
neighbors
but-
have that.
Yeah.
But why, I have to ask the question, why not 4 feet?
We wanted 5.
What?
For aesthetics, we just wanted 5. We just thought the deers, to prevent the deers from
Yeah,
jumping.
basically thinking about
Hopefully-
jumping.
Yeah, we have friends that have like
I get
5-foot
numerous
fence.
people telling me once a deer, no, the 4-foot fence afterwards, we already ordered the fencing sitting in the garage, so.
You've already ordered the fencing?
We haven't put anything up, it's sitting there, because we knew to get the variance and to get the building permit. But I was
The
been
main
told
thing is
that they
deer.
would,
You don't want deer jumping over it easily.
yeah, I know they could clear it, that's what I mean.
You have a pond or
Maybe
something
they'll
in the back?
impale themselves.
Say that again?
Do you have a wetland or a pond? Because I was
It's a
looking.
wetland behind,
Okay,
yes.
is it a pond or just a wetland?
It's, the way it covers behind our neighbors, it's like a big swampy, wet area, it's bigger
Okay.
than a pond.
Okay, my question was, do the, yeah, because the other image shows a lake, or like a water area. It shows like a water
Yeah.
area. So do the deers go through that area?
The deer come in through the right corner,
Okay,
but on the other side, it's kind of high, so fence on that for safety reasons too, because if somebody walked over, it's a pretty decent drop. So they won't come up on the south, going from the south, on the south side of the property. Once you start working your way along, it evens out.
Okay.
And then they come in through that side.
I see.
For the front of the house, why can't it be a 4-foot fence? In the back of the yard, 5 feet is fine, but why in the front? Does it have to
We
be?
just want to balance it all out.
It could have, well, then that's the issue again. Can the deer easily jump? You're talking, I don't know, we figured the 5 feet because the shrubs are along the south side of the house. So I guess the only issue is the variance goes from the rear to the front, right? The rear line?
Right.
Where it breaks.
Well, at the end, it's at the end of your driveway that you have one area of fence, right? So that's behind the rear line of the house. So that, you're
Well,
okay with.
Nothing's fenced. You mean you're looking at what's the proposed fence
I'm
area?
looking at your survey that you've superimposed your proposed fence on, or no? Is this,
Yeah, the perimeter of the fence?
yeah. So at the top of the driveway, there's a gravel area, and then, I don't know, another 15 feet beyond that, it looks like the fence is starting there, behind your house?
Yes, the fence is behind, it doesn't need a variance on that side because it's
Right,
behind the rear.
so that side's
Yeah,
fine. So you're
yes.
really just talking about this stretch on the other side.
Small, yeah, that 28 feet out and then the 31 feet back.
Is it wooded? in
The
front?
house is approximately 31 feet deep from the
Is-
south.
Is the front yard
No, the
wooded?
front
Would
yard,
you
it
see
looks
the-
totally cleared.
Oh, okay.
We're approximately, I think we're about at least 190 feet off the street. Somerset Road.
That's his neighbor. Huh?
I don't much care, no, they don't go in front of the house. They're not coming in front of the house.
They're not coming, they're going along,
They're in front of the rear line.
they're in front of the rear line, and actually, there's a part of the house, significant part of the house that's even in front of where this fence is.
Yeah.
It's just lining up with the left-hand side corner.
Can you just move the fence by about 30 feet, just so that it's by the rear?
And then you
line
don't
of the
need a
house?
variance from
No, I understand that, and that's why I thought, because especially
But
with
then that's where you got
landscaping.
your shrubs there?
Got the AC units and the shrubs and everything there, and it's, I mean, I love deer and
Shrubs are
stuff,
hiding
but
the
I don't,
AC unit, right?
say that again?
Your shrubs are hiding your AC units? Is that what's going on here? So you-
No, not at all.
But again, if you
No.
just go back, I think it'll just be easier for us to, I mean, then you won't even need it. I
You
think.
wouldn't even need it, yeah.
Well, that's why we're here, because that's what we wanted. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but,
I mean, what's the
I think,
hardship?
I mean, we're
That's-
so far off the street, I don't know. I think-
Because the deer's eating their shrubs and they have nice.
And we want it for
deer still need the
aesthetics.
shrubs.
Well, no, they won't get in then, it'll protect it, that area, I really feel they won't
The
clear
five,
the.
you don't think they're gonna jump a 5-foot
I
fence?
don't, I don't
seen
think
them
so,
jump up-
because the
our
way the
neighbors
hill,
have
the way the
5-foot
grade is on that
fences.
fence and that, if you've seen my property, I don't think they would go in that area.
And we have neighbors that have 5
It's
foot, we
going
haven't
uphill
seen
to the
any.
fence, that's what you're saying?
State that again?
You're going uphill to the fence?
Well, where they would have to come to get it, I guess they could jump, in fact, I seen them jump, they could do, it, but I don't think, because it's a small area that I haven't seen them really so much in that area often,
You should
so.
see 'em jump over 5 feet. You're not-
They
We just didn't want to
do jump in temporary fence. They've done
5-foot fence.
They have to really.
Is there a trampoline or something on that side of the house, or play equipment or something?
My neighbor has something on the back there that looks like a trampoline, I guess. That's my neighbor's property.
That's your neighbor's?
Yes. Are you looking at aerial shot?
No, this is theirs. The folded one.
Yeah, but what are you looking at?
Here, if you look at it. What's that circle?
On the side of the
Oh,
house.
you're looking where she
Yeah.
put the, what, sand?
There's a circular area.
Yeah, it's where she put a temp for the foundation for a pool, for a prop-up little 4-foot,
Tarjay Pool.
yeah.
It's
It's just so in the grass,
blue
yeah, there's
one?
nothing there, there's
That
nothing.
disappears at night,
Oh, it's
every
gone.
night?
Well, no, after the
the season.
season, it's
Oh,
gone.
no,
Nobody's-
no, don't tell us that, because any pool that goes up has to have fencing and everything else, folks.
Pool, a
Now
3-foot pool.
So is that why you want the fence there?
That's
Because
why we want a fence.
there's a pool there that you're
Yeah.
trying to hide.
No, I don't think that's reality. They're just saying that because we said they needed a fence for their pool.
Look at the aerial. It's showing up that there's.
No, actually, if that
A
satisfies
circular
that
area.
requirement, yes, that would have
Because
to,
the pool has to be 25 feet away from your property line, and you're not 25 feet away
Right.
from your property line.
Well, that's
So
gonna
you got
change.
bigger
Yeah.
problems. You don't have a pool there.
yeah.
It's not a permanent structure, I get that, but.
Yeah, You don't have a pool there.
No, we don't.
I don't know. I'm having a hard time justifying the hardship here.
Well, the only hardship, like I said, is the fact that we put money into the landscaping and the bushes. I know it may not be a lot, but it will keep them off
Yeah,
that.
we don't want to have to keep keeping
know,
that
it's
green
a foot.
fence, that temporary fence that you
Yeah.
see, that we want to get rid of that.
To
I mean,
protect
that's
the
more,
bushes.
that's more of an eyesore, I would think, than this is more aesthetically pleasing. Have you seen those green fences? Farm fences?
And that's the problem. I mean, that's the problem everybody's having.
Right.
I mean, you put up shrubs and stuff, the deer come in and eat it. You know, I'm not
And then it grows back again.
a big advocate of tall fences, but you know, this is a see-through fence. I mean, and it's not in front of the house. That's the big thing. I don't like it coming in front of the house. I know the statute says in front of the rear line, so.
What's the pleasure of the board?
I don't-
Public hearing or no public hearing?
Yeah,
doesn't bother me.
Pardon me?
public hearing
or
or
adjournment?
to go to public hearing or
Or
not to
review.
go to public hearing?
Well, unless we're pretty adamant that they're not gonna get it and tell them it doesn't make sense for them to go forward, then we go with a public hearing.
I think you need stronger arguments to justify that extra 20, 30 feet.
So we should just keep that green fence there then? How would you like that in your backyard, looking at that every day?
Well,
I mean, these are aesthetically pleasing. Our neighbors have the same type of fence.
It's in the rear yard.
It comes in front?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
What?
I think where our house is situated and based on what I asked for, since it wouldn't be an eyesore to anybody around our development, our neighbors, and I think it would look pretty good, actually, from there, going around the house.
Our neighbors have it as well.
And it's only one side of the house in the corner, and it's really not a big, I know it's a 1 foot, going from the 5 to 4, or 4 to 5, but I think if I put the 4-foot fence there going around, if we end up putting that there and we don't come here, there's still gonna be a fence there, so we're asking for the 1-foot differential. I don't
And right
think it's
now the-
really, I don't think it's really asking too
and
much.
again, the 4 foot, you don't need our permission.
I understand that,
That's
but,
why we're here, to get the 5
Yeah.
foot, so we can get rid of the
Yeah,
wooden
then-
fencing.
so, I personally
No.
don't think the deer would jump clear to 5 foot. but-
I haven't seen a deer. They can.
All right, let's,
I just hope when they do jump it, they can jump out.
Exactly,
Yeah,
good point. That's-
yeah.
touche.
Okay, you want to pursue it, I motion to advertise.
Is there a second?
Second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Bring strong arguments next time, please.
Yeah, really, because
Bring some
I'm not
pictures
sure you
inside.
got, I'm not sure you got a majority of hands here.
Bring some pictures showing the nice green
You need,
fence.
folks, you need your instructions for your advertising, please. All right, item number 17, Appeal 3608 Aquilino, Stephen A. Aquilino, 7 Brandy Lane, Wappingers Falls, is requesting an 11-foot sideline variance for a proposed 2-car garage pursuant to Section 194-107 of the zoning ordinance. For the record, for the purpose of disclosure, Steve is my neighbor, not my immediate neighbor. There's a driveway between us, but just for the record, okay? I have no interest in this.
It's actually a driveway that goes to the property in the back, so it's not.
Correct, there's a flag lot behind my home, so that's the separation there. All right, so,
I would suggest that we should abstain.
now, actually, I've already cleared it
Okay.
with Tom Wood, and
Okay.
he agreed, there's no conflict, I'm
Okay.
not,
Okay.
I don't gain from this, I don't, there's so. And honestly, I got a similar variance on my house about 20 years ago, so, for the
Motion to
record, for the record. Well, no, I think we have to, there's some information missing on this application, so I
Yes.
think we just need to work through this. My understanding is you're looking to put a new garage at the top of your driveway.
Yes, correct.
Your dimensions are not on your application itself. On the-
26 by 26.
It is 26 by 26, okay?
I left the plans with the building department, and I have a small copy here if you want.
Yeah, that's all we have is this little tiny
No.
copy, so it's very hard to read what you wrote on here. So it's,
Oh, I mean, I have the drawn plans.
okay, can I see the drawings?
Is it attached to the house? Is there something? Okay.
But it is attached. That
Is it
breezeway
attached?
attaches it,
Yeah.
okay? It is
Yeah.
attached.
Okay. That's
All
what I
right.
was-
So not
okay.
worried about the size.
So that,
And
yeah.
again, Steve has a fence going around his backyard, so the purpose of the breezeway gets lawn maintenance, gets.
Right, to get around.
Right.
For him
okay.
to, it's similar
To
to
get
the
in and
garage
out,
that we
to
saw
open.
earlier this evening. So,
So we're just looking at the variance.
all right, this is a garage that has a full set of stairs inside.
Right.
That takes you up to a second story of unfinished attic space. Approximately 5 feet high. Okay, so it's storage space. That's clear.
Right.
All right. So that's the finish of it. On the exterior, yes, it is in keeping with the neighborhood. Because it's actually not just my home, but there's actually another home, 2 homes away from me, that also
Absolutely.
has a garage that's close to the property line. Got variance for it, so.
Motion to advertise.
Yeah. I mean,
Make
what
sure
I'm
you have
saying,
all the
what-
information you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got
What are we
everything.
missing?
Nope,
got everything.
I have no problem with it.
Part of
We
the
have the
public record.
survey showing everything?
Yes,
Yep.
sir. Yeah.
Mike Gillespie did your plans, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Uh-oh, there's your problem.
All right, so I have a motion to advertise for November 13th. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Send in the survey.
All right, see Pam, she'll give you instructions, and then we'll see you next month. Yep.
Last but not least.
Yes.
Take care.
You must be the Gomeses representative, or?
I am.
You are, okay, all right, so let's appeal, item number 18, Appeal 3609 Gomes. Danielle Gomes, 219 Country Club Road, Hopewell Junction, is requesting a variance to allow her to keep her existing swing set in front of the rear line of the dwelling pursuant to Section 194-107 of the zoning ordinance. Okay, for the record, you should be aware that this came in as a complaint. All right, so that somebody in the neighborhood does not appreciate the play equipment. There is to the left of her home, in the side yard there is a significant play set. There's swings, I want to say 3 swings.
2 swings.
Yeah, I got the
Was
pictures
it
here.
2 swings?
somewhere.
Okay, there's a slide, big bright yellow slide, there's a clubhouse, and there's, mulch, et cetera. Very visible from the street. We'll pass them back this way.
Just so you guys know, I was not aware, I just moved here 2 years ago. I'm from Connecticut. I was not aware I had to get I had to
Right,
find out if that was okay.
Right.
I thought it was a swing set. It's my only place I could put a swing set. There's nowhere else.
Yeah, if you look at these pictures, look at the retaining wall behind her home. She actually has a significant slope going up behind her home. That
and I have
does
no yard
limit,
space.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily preclude, because you probably could flatten off one of the areas above perhaps the first retaining wall to be able to put it back there, so it is behind your home.
I know that the builder, back when she bought the house, I guess the law changed, like 2 years
Yeah.
ago or 3 years ago, that
With
they're
the
allowed
swing
to have the
set.
swing set on the side of the house, because we didn't go and take pictures and be nosy. I was gonna go do it, but there's a couple houses in the area.
There's a few houses that
with
have
their
swing
swing
sets
set
on the side.
And I know that law changed like 2 years ago or whatnot.
And I just have no other really place for my daughter to even play
And
besides
really,
that
when,
space.
when her daughter is playing, they look out, they got a sliding door that's like her game room downstairs.
How far
And
is
that's
it
where
from
they
the-
watch her playing on the swing
This is
set.
on the side of the house. How far is it from the property line?
16 feet.
That's part of the problem, too.
Right.
And I think it's 10 feet or 11 feet from the house, I think I had measured, that I
No.
catch it
12
on
feet.
there?
12 feet.
So she needs
Yeah,
a sideline?
From the house to,
9-foot sidewalk.
She's okay for the sideline.
No, she needs a variance.
She
It's
needs
not
a
listed
nine.
on here that she needs
No,
it.
I know. I figured
Okay.
that out on Friday.
So we need a
And so
9-foot.
there's a retaining wall off the corner of your house, too? Is that what
yeah,
we
on the
see?
back, because the property slopes so much on the back, it's all slate. And then they have a big deck that they had put in over the winter and made bigger in the back there, so, it takes up a big portion of the backyard, and there's only not much area in the back, and the rest of the property is sloped, way up.
Hmm?
Sloping up.
It is. It's going from the road even up to her house is a slope.
Yeah, there's really no yard space at all. That's like the only
The
flat
further
spot.
back you go, the closer you, if you stay on that flat spot, the closer you get to the sideline. Right? Yeah, push, if you go back, you go to the side.
Now, your survey is showing that you have a deck behind you?
Mhm.
So you were able to, that's a deck off the house?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is it flat or it's on, the deck obviously is flat. No, what I'm saying is.
Yeah, no, it's
the
up off the
supports under-
ground, yeah,
Okay.
it's about 3 feet off the ground, yes.
Thank you. That picture shows me, thank you. Okay, so that's off the ground. But so why can't that's what I was suggesting was next to that area there, can't the play set be moved back there?
It won't fit.
won't
When they came to install the playground, that was one of the places me and my husband were trying to figure out. But when they came to measure, you see where the mulch,
Right.
it would start going down. There's a slope, so towards the, if I can see the picture.
No, I know, I see it.
would start
There's a
going-
retaining wall, it goes up a little bit, then it looks like it levels off
It
for
would
a little
start
bit,
going down.
and then there's another
The end
retaining
of
wall.
The end of the mulch, it would start going down. It's not flat.
So it kind of begs the question, do you need
Zoom
that
back
mulched
between-
area to be so large? Did you see any of these?
No.
Sorry,
Well,
Tara hasn't seen the pictures.
I mean, when
Okay,
I asked how
between the
much
two
space I
retaining
needed, that's the
walls.
space they told me.
I mean, a swing set I know requires a larger safety play area.
Yeah.
Okay, because you gotta be more conscious of that. But the slide and
Yeah,
stuff.
but again, the slide is only maybe 2.5
If
feet
I have
from
to
the-
take the big yellow slide off, I'll take it off.
Well,
I just don't
again,
want-
this is the result of a complaint.
I understand that. I
So-
don't like the color yellow.
I was gonna say, I mean, could she somehow like put some bruised trees or something up to hide the swing set or
That
something?
would certainly help.
I would,
Because
but-
right
You
now,
know,
it's
just get a
extremely visible.
landscaper,
As you
put some
come up the
trees up
street,
there.
it was
If
clear,
I'm able
that's the
to
house.
I really will put it in. It would break my daughter's heart if I had to take that down.
Sorry,
So
I
if there's
Does it fit
anything,
between the two retaining walls?
Say it again?
It won't fit between the two retaining walls.
No.
It's just too sloped, too tight back there, and if she was like to
It's
go
not-
on the
there's not-
swing set,
there's not much space at all.
you'd have that other step of her, falling going forward.
What I would suggest is a site visit and/or a public hearing. I think we already have the information. So,
All right, but I think we need to talk about screening, because again, if
Oh,
the na- if
definitely
the neighbors
screening,
are
yeah.
complaining
Oh, yeah.
about this place set,
No, screening
we
def-
need to do
Right.
something to address it,
Right,
so.
and say,
Screening is
I know
already-
it's a slate property,
Yeah.
but I mean,
But I don't want to screen it unless I could keep it up. I mean, are you saying
Well,
do it right now?
No, we
Okay.
understand that. What we're trying to do is mitigate what's there, if possible, so that we can see if we can keep it there. How can we make it less obvious?
I will do
How
that.
can we make it so that it blends in a little bit
So
better
next,
with
the
the
next
neighborhood?
meeting, I have to come back and.
I mean, you have some
and
nice
kinda-
evergreens behind on the next level up. I mean, those evergreens would get to be a nice size and would
Okay.
block pretty well.
Okay,
Yeah, we can approve the variance subject to.
okay, putting the screening in or whatnot.
Yeah, can we put together a landscape plan that might be
I can get a
able to-
landscaper over and do that for it. They're actually leaving soon. Her husband,
Right.
travels a lot with what he does.
His job, yeah.
But, yeah, so if we're not in town, you know, it's not because we don't care, we
No,
wanna
I
be
understand.
here.
Your application
We're
is
just not-
clear. You're only
yeah.
here part of the year.
Yeah.
What's the area behind the driveway like that's also sloped?
That's it.
That's it. It's
all-
it's
That's it.
That
sloped
is
and
really
Okay.
my own,
It goes
the
up,
only
actually.
Oh,
flat.
it goes up, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
And that mulch is really bright blue like that?
Yeah. Soft too. You get jump on it.
It's
It pulls something off.
It's like the Boy
beautiful.
Scouts, but it's gold.
It's beautiful. It's so nice.
But again, that might be part, I don't know what the issue is. That might be part of the problem. is
But
that
it's
Gotcha.
nice.
It's not natural looking. It's.
Stands
I-
out.
I-
It
It
stands
really
out.
stands
I
out.
mean, we
All of
witnessed what
my
we saw
neighbors-
going on here today, so.
All of my neighbors' kids can play on it. They don't even have to tell me. I don't even, you know, it's,
That's because you made it so obvious.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to. I really didn't even mean to. I didn't even think it was,
That bright yellow, the bright
we were
blue.
just figured, hey, let's do it. Let's
Okay.
go all out.
Let's come up with a landscape plan. We'll
Okay.
have an opportunity at the public hearing, let your neighbors hear about this landscape plan. Let's
Okay.
see if there is still further objection to this.
Okay.
Could we talk about, though, potentially, or could you explore, maybe one of those yellow slides comes off? The one in the back, I think, is less obvious,
I don't mind.
but that one off the side,
I'll
maybe.
take
Okay.
one of them off and I'll take the blue mulch out if I have to. I just don't want to
It's a
put
little
it
black in it.
down. You know, I
Just-
just, it's
Just be
literally.
sensitive to the fact that it really,
I
as you
understand.
drive down the street,
I see it. You know what?
It
After
is,
I
you
got
see
after
it.
I got the letter, when I was driving up my hill, I was like, okay, that is kind of like,
Yeah.
you know, cocky
So-
But it's
out
nice.
there.
I mean,
It
it's
is.
nice though. It's not like,
It's
you know.
well maintained, there's
Yeah.
no question, but again, it's
I
not
understand.
what,
No.
what's not what your neighbors bought in this
Yeah.
neighborhood for.
I
Yeah.
understand.
All right, so let's just be a little sensitive to that.
Yeah.
Let's come up with a landscape plan that could potentially block it. I'm not encouraging a fence, I'd rather see landscaping.
You'd have to get a variance for the fence, I heard.
I
for
know,
that
I
side,
know, I
too,
know, that's
so.
why I'm saying, let's not go there.
4 feet wouldn't even cover.
You know, and again, I don't know how old your daughter is, but in a couple, she's 4, so, you know,
And that's
6
another
years
thing,
from
it's not-
now, honestly,
It's not
you,
permanent.
right,
She's
6 years
not-
from now, you may not even
I
want
won't
this
have it. I
structure
know I
there
won't.
anymore anyway, so.
Guaranteed, I won't
You'll
have
give it to your
it.
neighbors.
And there's literally nowhere else for my daughter to play. Like,
Okay, we understand.
You
no.
get some nice 4-foot evergreens, that'll block
Yeah,
most of it
exactly,
right away.
and they'll,
Great pines.
I will do that.
They'll
without
do a good
problem.
job of screening
I'll do
because
it
they
now.
stay wide, they stay green all year round. Think about what your options are, please, all right?
Okay.
And then when you come back next month for the
Yep.
public hearing, right? We'll read
Yeah.
the public hearing next
Um,
month?
Again, you might not be here, as you mentioned. Again, the color scheme, you picked the scheme for some reason. And again, if you had options, so when you come back for the public hearing, or if you are here, just give us the option that we can remove this particular color.
Right.
Because we don't know what the neighbors are complaining about.
Right.
Okay.
So at the public hearing, we will hear the neighbors and then try to figure out. And again,
How we can mitigate it.
mitigated. And
Right.
again, the option of screening is on, that's something you need to work on. So that is something that, again, with the color scheme, may not be an issue for the neighbors, but these are very expensive homes in that whole neighborhood.
Right.
And therefore, people are a little bit more sensitive to
Right.
the character of the neighborhood. And that's something that we have to work with.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, so the screening has to be,
That was expensive.
yeah, so screening has to be, you have to work on the screening part, which would be a cheaper alternative to having this whole thing removed or.
Okay.
And again, if the neighbors are not complaining about the extra slide, then that may
Then
not.
we'll let it stay, but
Correct.
we don't know what it is that they're complaining about.
Gotcha.
So just, we have to keep all our options open and then just be
And I
aware.
don't have like a ton of kids outside. I have one daughter that I'm with outside with her. We don't make much noise.
We don't know what the
Like-
complaint is about. You
Okay.
should just be aware that there was a
Could be
complaint.
just somebody that just doesn't
Correct.
like it because they don't have one.
Yeah,
you
so
know?
again,
That
just want
could
you to
be.
be aware of it because you won't be here, but again, I just want you to, because you're gonna explore all the options and then come with a solution, and then, so
Would it
motion
be-
to advertise.
Motion to
be wrong-
advertise for November 13th. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
Would it be wrong to take pictures of the other houses that have the swing set, or is that?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
You probably heard
I just
earlier,
wanted- didn't
somebody
wanna
else
see,
took
you know,
pictures of fences.
Didn't want to go, ha, 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 you know,
I
this is what they
don't
have.
want anyone to have to sit for 4 hours.
Well, the
like
public
me,
hearing,
so I don't want to tell
when you
anyone.
come public hearing, it'll be much earlier.
Oh, okay,
We
all
do
right.
public hearings first.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah,
it'll
I
be
can
much
see that.
earlier.
We got her.
But you'll still have the cell tower application before you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you'll still have the cell tower before you.
Motion to adjourn.